9:30. Do you?
Yep.
Okay. I hereby call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Do we have public comment this morning?
Yes, ma'am, we have 6 people signed up for comment. The first person is Jeff Williams.
This one or that?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Okay. Good morning, council, mayor, everybody. My name's Jeff Williams. Lived in Peachtree City for 30 years in the Interlochen subdivision. Love it here, so thanks to you all that maintain such a great quality of life. I may represent some of the silent majority of the pickleball community that is clamoring for new courts and a larger facility. I started playing in 2001, was coming off a major surgery, and I needed something other than going to the gym to get plugged into for some exercise and some competition, and frankly to have a social group. Besides recreational play, I play in about 6 to 8 tournaments a year. Not because I'm a good player, I'm probably average or less than, but I've played in Griffin, they have 18 courts. I've played in Noonan, they have 15, plus they're adding 5 or 6 more. I've played in Macon, they have 32 courts. I've played in Opelika, Alabama, they have 24 courts, and they are adding 6 more. Several of us who play here locally from Peachtree City drove over to Opelika last Friday to play there for, a road trip. Because the reality is these larger facilities attract more players. They attract more players with different skill levels. We played in the morning, and then we had lunch in downtown Opelika. We went to an ice cream shop. We filled up the car with gas, and we did some retail spending. And that is, I think, the great opportunity here for Peachtree City. Because when we think of places that are really a cool destination, is there any place cooler than Peachtree City that people from outside the city, outside the county, and frankly from different parts of the southeast would come to play? When I play in Opelika, they look at me and say, "Oh, you're from Peachtree City. You must have great pickleball facilities there." And I kind of, no, we're playing here because the largest thing we've got is 6 courts. So, and again, I think there's a tremendous revenue opportunity. We can put people in hotels during tournaments, restaurants, local businesses, and so forth. So there's a tax opportunity here. So, I'm glad indoor pickleball's coming. I've signed up to be one of them, but I like to play outdoors, and there's going to be a lot of people that, for whatever reason, are not going to be able to pay the membership to be in the indoor courts. So, it's time to move on with this initiative. The sport continues to grow. If you go to Noonan now, where they have 15 and they're building more courts, if you go there at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or on weekends, packed with young people, middle schoolers, high schoolers, young adults just getting off work. So the sport is growing, and it's not just old people like me now, it's the young people that are getting it. So we need a large facility. 18 to 24 courts is what you've really got to have to attract people and have tournaments and so forth. The survey confirmed it. The consulting project confirmed it. I mean, all signs point to pickleball. So we anxiously await, and we're very hopeful that we see some activity in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next person signed up to speak is Joseph Smith.
Good morning, council. My name is Joseph Smith, Summit Subdivision, and I'm here to talk to you about prayers for the city. Begin with April the 13th at 3 p.m. We're going to have a prayer walk. That's Palm Sunday, where we're going to be praying for Peachtree City. And all of you are invited. And we even had a prayer for the city yesterday. And I just want to read the prayer, one of the prayers that we made. This is a prayer from King David and from St. Peter. Whoever would love life and see good days, please keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. they must seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. And this is a prayer to encourage our city leaders to uphold to their duty to God and country, and to the city, and hold fast to our Constitution, because you all swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, protect and defend it. And you can have no other oath but to the Constitution, and no other duty than to be good representatives of the people of your city and no one else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next is Ms. Jill Church.
Good morning, Madam. I can either see you or I can see the paper. I can't see both, so my apologies if I'm looking over here. Can you hear me well enough?
That's better.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and council members. I am here representing friends who could not be here this morning. By way of introduction, I have worked in the animal protection field for 39 years now. I'm a wildlife photographer, and I also do wildlife rescue. So with that in mind, I'm here to address the deer situation, as we're calling it. I was not able to be at some previous meetings, so forgive me if I'm repeating things. But basically, from what I've been able to discern from minutes and other presentations, there is insufficient data to warrant lethal deer, quote-unquote, management. The issues we have with deer involve multiple factors. There are humane considerations, but Peachtree City is blessed to have a lot of green space, but we also have a lot of long, dark roads surrounded by green space. And I believe that there are traffic considerations, there are seasonal considerations that influence whether or not we have interactions with deer that maybe we wouldn't like to have. But we also have to consider it in the broader spectrum of the wildlife in general in our city. There are deer-car collisions, but let's face it, cars run over a lot of animals in Peachtree City, as they do everywhere. So this isn't just about deer. It's about dark roads, it's about visibility, it's about speed limits, it's about driver education, it's about resident education. There are people feeding deer and encouraging them to congregate in certain areas, which maybe is not the best idea. It's an environmental issue, it's not just a deer issue. And it's a public safety issue, it's not just a deer issue. I strongly suspect that there is not the type of data that we need. We need a scientific approach to this. We need a data-driven approach to this. And that includes mapping out when do deer collisions occur. And not just a total, like not how many were there, when were they, what month, what time of day, which road specifically. I know there's a map, which I've marked up a little bit, but if you look at the map where some of these concentrations are, they're on some very dark stretches, also stretches where the speed limit is probably not adhered to. There are also places like golf courses. We have wonderful lakes and ponds. But again, those places attract wildlife of all kinds, and you can expect wildlife movement within those areas. So to say that shooting them is the only solution or is even the best solution, I think ignores a lot of data that we are not addressing. And I think that needs to be a much deeper dive into where these things are occurring. There is no formal census of deer populations in Peachtree City that I can tell. People can see the same 6 deer 5 times a day and assume that there are many more than there really are. The math with hunting does not add up. The more you kill does not mean the fewer that you have to run over. If you kill a lot of deer in a short amount of time in a short period of space, it creates a vacuum that the deer will just fill back up again. And so it just becomes this self-perpetuating deer slaughter that unfortunately some people find recreational, but is not ultimately an effective, safe, or humane solution to whatever conflicts we may have. So I encourage much more data collection before any decisions are made. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next is Ms. Jackie DePeachtree.
Good morning. Thanks so much for allowing me to speak. I'm here about the Ketron Pool again, and I just want to thank you all for considering options. I think a year ago we discovered that there were some major problems and we were in need of a solution. I sent an email to all of City Council last night kind of laying out my thoughts and kind of the thoughts of the swim community. I just wanted to touch on 2 points if you could take away from that when you guys discuss it later on. The first being is that we put millions of dollars into trying to make an outdoor pool and indoor pool, and it doesn't seem to be working, and it's aged to the point where it's causing more problems. And so I really think it's time for a new facility, which brings up my second point, which is we're not coming here asking to write a big check for a big facility. We understand that how expensive that is, but we have an army of people who are really interested in helping to find the funding. There's grants, there's different ways that we can pay for this and really invest into a future for the swim community. We have over 1,200 families that swim year round or are trying to swim round, and we just don't have the space. So it seems like we're wasting tax dollars if we're trying to fix something that's not even really what we're needing for our community anymore. I encourage you to reach out to us. Like I said, we have a whole foundation that's looking at how to raise money for it, and we'd like to partner with you to get that done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next is Miss Felicia Stoney.
Hello, good morning, Madam Mayor, and thank you all, council members, for hearing me. My name is Felicia Stoney. I'm a resident of Peachtree City, specifically Planterra subdivision. And I'm here today to urge the council to implement a citywide ban on all forms of backyard burning, including yard debris, wood burning fire pits, and charcoal fires, specifically in neighborhoods where homes are very close together. While some burning, sorry, I'm nervous. While some burning is currently legal with a permit, it violates the legal right of homeowners to the peaceful use and enjoyment of their property. Smoke doesn't just stay in one yard. It spreads into nearby homes, through vents, windows, and doors. My home and many others is regularly filled with smoke we did not consent to. That is a clear violation of our property rights. The health risks are just as serious. Smoke from burning yard debris and wood contain fine particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and known carcinogens. Dangerous for anyone, but especially for my children or any children who have asthma or others with asthma, seniors, or those with pre-existing conditions. My own children can't even play in their yard when this happens, and we've had to leave our home just to breathe clean air. That should never happen in a city like ours. The fire hazard is equally concerning. These fires often happen during the driest times of year. A single ember could ignite an entire neighborhood or property on fire. Many of them are left smoldering for days, pumping out smoke long after the flames are gone. In our case, our neighbor had a fire going for four days, so large that it scorched fires and blanketed the entire neighborhood. I contacted the fire department and code enforcement, but no action was taken, even though I had a time-stamped video. We tried asking the neighbor to put it out, but were met with hostility. My family felt helpless and trapped. Peachtree City prides itself on nature, green belts, and environmental wellness. Our motto is keeping Peachtree City beautiful. Backyard burning doesn't belong in a community like this. It belongs in unregulated rural areas, not a city focused on health, safety, and community values. And that's why I strongly support a ban on all residential burnings, not gas grills or gas fire pits, but burning wood, coal, and yard debris. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, please.
Last to speak is Ms. Mary Plant.
Good morning again. My name is Mary Plant. I've been here once before to talk on behalf of a new aquatics center. I wasn't sure if I should try to appeal to your all's emotional side with the benefits to an older population who participate in water aerobics and find miraculous healings from aches and pains, or the character building qualities that it gives our younger group who are participants on swim teams. Instead, though, I decided to try to appeal to your more business-minded side and your responsibility to the citizens of Peachtree City. Bottom line, compared to other sports facilities, an aquatics facility can benefit so many more people than the others. And I'm referring to baseball fields, football fields, and our most popular soccer fields, which is great. I hang my hat on the wonderful soccer programs we have here in Peachtree City and the kids we turn out, even though my kids never chose to play soccer. But even compared to the 20 crippleball courts, sorry Jeff, but that is what the orthopedic surgeons are calling pickleball, is crippleball. The same square footage could be made into an aquatic center and benefit kids and adults and people of all ages and fitness levels and disabilities and abilities. It's just, it would service a much bigger population
than those other facilities that we spend so much time and money on. The Aquatic Center, once again, more specifically, club competitive swim teams, the 5 high school swim teams, senior aquatic classes, year-round swim lessons, lifeguard training, parents' night out and other social events, scouting projects, etc. And once again, unlike the other sports facilities, an aquatics facility benefits citizens of all ages and caliber of athlete or fitness level, even if they have a disability. Unlike the other facilities, the usage would not be dependent on the weather. It's never too hot, it's never too cold, doesn't matter if it's raining. An indoor aquatics facility built right can be used at all times. And once again, Jackie did a great job of pointing this out last time. You know, the unique thing about swimming is that no one is ever cut from a team. Everybody makes the team in swimming. They're just put at a different level of practice. And so you never have kids on the sidelines hoping to get put in the game or even cut from a team. So I'm finishing by asking the City Council 3 things. Do the research into other aquatic facilities in other communities. Peachtree City deserves to have one, and we could totally support it. Start researching how to put money together. The school needs it, the county, there's no other indoor aquatics facility. The Fayette County Development Authority is sitting on a lot of money that could be used.
Your time has expired. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Awards, announcements, and recognition. Chief Murphy.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So I often talk about having the right people, the right equipment at the right time. And in 2023, we reorganized the AED program that we had in the city to better serve the community. Since that time, we have had 2 cardiac saves using these AEDs. Our crew's excellence have not only been recognized by you, but by the vendor that supplies those AEDs. So they ask us to be featured in a promotional video for them, and I'd like to present that to you this morning and to the community that allowed us to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to let them play the video.
On that morning, I came to the police department and I got an AED. That was the first thing I did. Got an AED, and then I got back on the road. We get the call. Patient was found on the side of the golf cart path. Does not appear to be breathing or has a heartbeat. I jumped out of my vehicle, grabbed the AED. I turned it on, and it immediately just started giving me instructions on what to do.
Powered on. Make sure the pads are placed on the patient's bare skin.
The AED program was non-existent until a few years ago. The fire department had AEDs, the police department had AEDs, and recreation department had AEDs. And everybody was in charge of their own.
Nobody was really tracking anything. A lot of the AEDs weren't being maintained like they should be. We just had a hodgepodge of different AEDs in different places that no single department or person was keeping up with, so it was kind of a mess.
We had a city manager come in, and he was definitely pro EMS and AED access and everything, and so they decided to put all of them under one umbrella. And the Avive AED is the one that impressed me the most. One of the things I really liked is the ability to locate them and know where they're at. Now we have that communication, and it's really nice and makes it easier.
The Vive platform allowed us to have one person to manage all of it, be interconnected. We also gave us the opportunity to look at where we were deploying them. All of this is about minutes and seconds. It is putting great equipment in the places that you need it.
Being that we are law enforcement officers, we typically get there before medics. Those 2 or 3 minutes are very, very critical.
The police found him first. I know they used their Avive AED on the patient initially before there was, a medically trained personnel even at site.
Medics arrived maybe 3 or 4 minutes after I conducted CPR and the AED on the patient.
The police then kind of retreat into a role of support. And of course, he was a viable patient and he's walking around today, thankfully. So I feel like it's really a big success story of the initial response. As a paramedic, the Vive AED has some pretty huge benefits when we think of just the common bystander that's never even seen a cardiac arrest. If the device is going to do the steps for you and it's going to be accurate and it's going to record that it did it, that's a major advantage.
Having been in EMS for 30 years or more, I can remember cardiac saves were very, very rare. You just didn't get them. You know, statistically, we're far above the national standard. It's all because of the ability of our police department to get to the scene early and deliver that defibrillation to give the person a chance at survival.
You know, my vision for the employees and everybody is uncompromised excellence. Everything we do, number one, we're going to get to you fast. And number two, the equipment we have, including the AEDs even before they get there, we want it to be the best so that you have the best chance of surviving if something did happen to you.
That was the first time I've ever done CPR and the person walked away with a pulse.
Well, good job.
Praise God.
So I'd like to thank, obviously, my staff, the police department, and communications for helping with this recognition of our city. Yes, we're in it, but this is all about this community's dedication to providing the right people, the right equipment at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Work session discussion items. A, Police Department Evidence Storage Solution, SPLOST. Good morning, Chief Moon.
Good morning, Mayor, Council, citizens. I don't know about you, but this pollen has been a struggle. If y'all didn't see our Facebook post, I need your aid, apparatus so I can breathe today. The first item I have this morning, Mayor, is the next council meeting. One of the SPLOST projects is for our evidence storage solution, so we can save some space. Space Saver Storage Solutions completed a design of the long-term evidence storage room that will increase the overall storage capacities and security of our physical evidence. The increase of the storage capacity will help alleviate the demand of the primary evidence room for storage of high-risk items and provide additional storage for the foreseeable future. Space Saver holds the Georgia State contract for this rolling rack storage system, and Patterson Pope is the exclusive local area contractor for Space Saver in the state of Georgia. So we'll be asking to expend out of our SPLOST funds that is already budgeted $67,442.92.
All right, thank you. Item B, Police Department Digital Radio Replacement, also SPLOST.
Yes, ma'am, this will complete our radio transitions from everything replacing our Motorola radio systems over to the new Kenwood digital radios. And these last purchases will replace all the radios that we have currently with our SRT team. The purchase of these radios will move all the police department to a unified radio platform. Fayette County Dispatch and Radio 1 personnel are capable of programming, updating, and maintaining the Kenwood radios, as continued updates are required with the new digital radio system. The Kenwood radio project is funded with the SPLOST funds, and the cost of this project is $74,237.35.
All right, thank you. Council, questions?
I have one question.
I have a question, too.
How many radios are we talking about? How much total is this, Scott? I brought my brains with me today. That's 13 additional radios.
I have a question on the storage stuff. Obviously, that takes up a lot of room when you start putting all of your evidence in these storage containers. Are you going to keep the storage in the location at the police station right now, or are you going to be using some of the new space you have at the gun range along the way for your evidence storage?
The way the evidence room has to be configured for security,
Yep.
it will be staying in the present room, and this will allow us to reconfigure
inside of that room using those rolling collapsible shelves to maximize the space. So hopefully we won't have to take any additional space.
So this is a good step forward for evidence holding and storage is what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you. Item C, Marywood Lane Stormwater Pipelining, Dave Borkowski.
Good morning, Dave Borkowski, City Engineer. As you may be aware, we have a GIS inventory of all the storm drains in the city and their associated condition, good, severely corroded, all that stuff. This set of pipes belongs to our severely corroded set, which amounts to about $7.5 million worth of pipe projects. We've elevated this one to fix right now because of its location. It's right at the entrance of Marywood subdivision, which is right off of South Peachtree Parkway. It's really a dead-end subdivision. There's no other way out, and these pipes are right at the beginning. So that factors into our analysis as well as far as prioritization for replacement or lining. And these ones happen to be in a good enough condition that we can line them with spin cast concrete. So we solicited quotes from 8 different contractors, and we got 2 responses back. The low one was from Utility Asset Management, which we happen to have used several times before, and for the amount of $52,272. Therefore, we're going to be recommending at the next council meeting that we award this work to them. The funding is going to come out of the stormwater utilities pipelining budget that we have, and we should have enough funding for probably 1 or 2 more of these type projects this year left over. Are there any questions on this?
All right, questions?
Did you say this was going to be concrete? Liner?
It will be a concrete liner, yes. It's sprayed on the inside of the pipes to about an inch and a half thick, like 8,000 PSI concrete. So.
Thank you, Dave.
Any other questions?
Yes, Dave. The corrosion on the stormwater is all from the internal, or is it external?
It's internal, mostly from the acidity of the water.
Okay,
from the soils.
And typically that would be at the bottom of the pipe is most of the damage.
Correct.
Is it going to be an additional thickness at the bottom of the pipe, or is it all going to be a 1-inch spray all the way around?
It's 1.5 inch spray all the way around. If there are small voids at the bottom, they will come in and fill those in first with concrete.
Okay.
And then spray them around.
Okay. And the cost of doing this versus the cost of digging it up and putting a new concrete pipe in there has got to be significant. Do you have any idea?
You're looking at, yes, like three times the cost.
3 times.
4 times
Okay.
the cost. Yes, it's
Thank you,
much,
Dave.
much better to get them early.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item D, burn permit ordinance and process review. Fire Marshal Jeff Felmet.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor, Council. I've been asked to give a little presentation today about our current process for allowing outdoor burning and the burn permits. So currently we have an ordinance, and you guys have a copy of this ordinance in front of you. I placed out before the meeting. Basically, the way our ordinance reads now is that in order to burn outdoor yard debris, which is the only thing that is allowed to be burned in the city, is outdoor yard debris. So you cannot burn trash, you cannot burn tires, you cannot burn building materials such as lumber or pressure treated wood. You have to obtain a permit every day that you want to burn. There is a maximum size of burn pile that is 75 cubic feet, so essentially 5 foot by 5 foot by 3 foot tall is the limit to the size of the burn pile. We do not require permits for cooking or entertainment, so your fire pits, your chimeneas, things like that do not require permits. And then we have a period that the state mandates that no outdoor burning is allowed, and that is, it is an EPA regulation or environmental regulation, so it has nothing to do with fire hazards or burn hazards. It is all about air quality, and that is from May 1st until October 1st of each year. There is no burning in the metro Atlanta area. So that's the dates there. There's actually 54 counties that are affected with that, Fayette County being one of them. And once again, like I said, that has nothing to do with fire risk or increased fire risk during the summer. It is all about pollutants and smog and air quality. So how do we get burn permits in the city of Peachtree City? Currently, we use our website, the city website. The person that is wanting to request a burn permit goes on their website, they look at the rules, they put in their information, and as long as we're issuing permits that day, they are basically given a email response, and you guys have a copy of that on your desk also that says the burn permit confirmation, which must be present at the time. If anybody comes by to look and check on their fire, they must have that burn permit with them, either in paper form or it could be on their phone or mobile device, something like that. But they have to have it. And if you notice on the sheet, on that burn permit confirmation sheet, it highlights many of the requirements that are in our ordinance, as well as some distances that talks about the fire must be attended at all times, and then distances away from buildings, structures such as fences, outbuildings, and green space. So we do require 50 feet from structures, 25 feet away from green spaces, unless the fire is contained in something like a burn barrel. Then you're allowed to diminish some of those sizes. But all of those are clearly stated on the confirmation that the applicant gets when they apply for their permit. And here they are, those distances listed out for you. And then just a little background, these distances were taken from the current suggestions that are made by the Georgia Forestry Commission on their website to burning. All right, so once again, you have to have a burn permit every day that you burn. So you can't request a permit and burn multiple days. You must request a permit every day that you want to burn. All permits expire on sunset of the day that they're issued, so the fires must be extinguished by dark. You can only have one pile in your yard, and it must be that maximum 75 cubic feet. And then there's the things that you're not supposed to burn, such as treated lumber, plastics, rubber, things like that. And you're also not allowed to use any accelerants to start your fire. Another requirement, we are also asked to look at what our neighboring cities do and what they require or allow for burning. The city of Noonan, I actually live in the city of Noonan, and I was under the understanding that Noonan did not allow burning, but they actually do. They do issue permits for outdoor burning, but they have some pretty strict rules. Number one, the fire marshal must perform a site visit before issuing the permit. So you would have to call, get an appointment with the fire marshal. The fire marshal would come out and look at where you want to burn and authorize you to. And you notice that your fire has to be 200 feet away from any structures. So you have to have a relatively large yard, actually a pretty large yard, in order to have a burn pile in the city of Noonan. The city of Fayetteville allows outside burning. They do not permit any burning during the state-issued burn ban. City of Griffin does not allow any burning of yard debris. They only allow recreational and cooking fires. And the city of Fairburn, also similar to us, allows burning with a permit. So it's about 50-50. When you look at the municipal jurisdictions around us, some allow burning, some do not. Almost all of the counties do. I've not come across any counties that limit. and many of them actually don't even require a permit. They just allow you to burn. One thing that happened in the state in 2021, many of the counties that did not issue their own permits, they basically defaulted to Georgia Forestry's burn permits. But in 2021, Georgia Forestry basically got out of the permitting game. They stopped issuing fire burn permits, and they basically said you can burn whenever you want to, as long as we're not within that environmental mandated no burn period. They don't require permits, they don't require you to register, but they do post on their website rules that are very similar to the ones I showed earlier about being distance away from structures and things like that. Another safe practice that they talk about is to monitor the weather. You all know that just very recently we went through some periods of red flag warnings where that it was based on relative humidity and wind speed. So when the relative humidity drops to an extremely low period, that basically dries out the fuel and makes the risk of fire that much greater. We were in a red flag period when the Braylon Golf Course fire occurred, and that's one of the reasons why that took off like it did in the grass. All right. Here's some information on what we've done, been issuing as burn permits. I will preface this by saying that our current system using the Civic Plus website is very rudimentary. It doesn't provide us with a lot of great data. It definitely doesn't provide us with very easily accessible data on the days of, like driving around, looking at fires, seeing if a person has a permit. That's not really the way this is set up. So any kind of enforcement process or anything using our permit system is difficult, if not impossible, for people out on the streets. But in the last 24-month period, and I ran this probably earlier, so middle of March. So in the last 24-month period, we issued 4,881 burn permits. Those 4,881 permits were obtained by 1,509 addresses. So 1,509 addresses. 80%, so over 3,900 of those permits were issued to 587 addresses. And then 50%, a little over 2,400, were issued to only 137 addresses. So 137 residents in the city of Peachtree City accounted for 50% of the total burn permits issued in the past 24 months. So I don't know what that percentage is. It's probably in the 1% area, something like that. So 1% of the population accounts for 50% of the outdoor burning. And also, when you look at that, what you're seeing is that many of these residents are obtaining burn permits and burning multiple days in a row, many days throughout the year. And once again, as the speaker earlier stated, that does pose issues for their neighbors. So just want to make sure that we're aware of those numbers. That's all the data I have. Do you guys have any questions for me about our processes?
This information is really helpful. Mm-hmm. This is well done. Thank you very much. Council, we have the option to ask for an ordinance change if you think one needs to be made. So I do want to hear what you want to do here.
I have one major question for you,
yes,
and
sir.
a lot of little questions. So I'd like to hear what our fire department wants as recommendations, or what they recommend we should do, given all of that data, that 1% of the homes do 50% of the burning in the city, based on what I saw there. That's a little bit shocking to me. I would like to see what you recommend for our city. And I'm not saying I need it right now, but something that you could come back to us.
I'm willing to give you my recommendation now if you'd
please.
like to hear it.
Please.
My recommendation is the city of Peachtree City is a city. We have densely populated areas. Homes are close to each other. I am not concerned about the fire risk of outdoor burning as long as the ordinance is being followed. But I think we do understand that there are many people who don't read the directions, And so therefore, they're not reading everything that they're agreeing to when they do this. I am concerned about the environmental impacts and the health impacts to the neighbors and to the residents. And unfortunately, you cannot control smoke. That smoke is going to go up, it's going to go out, it's going to go left, it's going to go right, whatever the wind takes it. So my recommendation as the fire marshal is that we follow the steps of the city of Griffin and the city of Noonan for the most part, and we prohibit outdoor burning of yard debris with permits. And I will say that we can, without an ordinance change, we could just stop issuing permits. So we could turn the permits off forever without an ordinance change actually happening. So that is my recommendation. We have had some instances where fires have got out of control. We actually had one last night. A resident was burning legally with a permit. However, the fire was not fully extinguished. He and his wife left. He thought he fully extinguished it, but it was not. When they arrived home, their yard and their fence was on fire. So it does happen occasionally, but like I say, to me, it's more the amount of time the fire department takes handling burn complaints, responding to burn complaints. It's just, we're in a situation where we're too close. And the current systems that we have, we cannot tell somebody whether or not they have a home or a yard or property that is bigger than others. And so we can't separate whether you live in Crestwind in a neighborhood that the next house is 10 feet away from you, or you live over off Robinson Road where you have 5-10 acres of land. We can't differentiate that in our system. So like I said, to me, we are a city, and outdoor burning is something that should be in the county rural environment.
Okay. Council, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Speaking of what you just said with regard to the fact that your ability to stop the permit issuing process based on the person clearly having a lot that's far too small based on the parameters of the ordinance, how fixable is that? You know?
I don't know if it is doable at all, but if it is, it would have to cost money. We would have to find some sort of permitting software solution that would be able to take GIS data of lot sizes, property sizes, that sort of thing, and therefore when people put in their request for a permit with their address, it would be able to determine. I have not done that research. I don't know if it is even something that's possible, but I know that the system we use currently would not do that. And then therefore, if we were to go that route, I would strongly suggest we charged a fee for the permit. I think if we charged a fee for outdoor burning permits, number one, to recoup the cost of the software to manage it, but it also would possibly prohibit the person who wants to burn daily in their yard because they have to pay a fee daily to have that fire. But that would be my secondary recommendation if we did continue to allow outdoor burning to proceed.
Any other questions?
Well, the other comment that I was gonna have is, the data that is contained in your report with regard to the addresses and the numbers having how many fires, that's for a 24-hour period. Was there any significant difference that you noticed?
24-month period.
Excuse me, 24-month period. Was there any significant difference from one year to the next, or is it pretty consistent?
Yeah, we ran that as a 24-month period, and once again, it was not easy to do. Many people put their addresses in differently each time. Like sometimes they would capitalize, sometimes they would lowercase, sometimes they would spell out the word street, sometimes they wouldn't. So we actually had a very hard time getting a good analysis of the data. So once again, the system we use is very hard. So unfortunately, Ms. Brown, I can't answer your question whether 24 months versus we did it as a 24-month period, not as two 12-month periods.
The other thing,
I can look at it again if you'd like more information on that, but I don't have that data right now.
well, I think if we're going to change the ordinance, that may become part of a factor that has to be
Okay.
looked at. But The other thing is, and I'm not saying that it's comparable, obviously, but, you know, what does Fayette County do? Do they have permits?
Fayette County operates like most other counties. They do have a permitting system. However, they don't have any kind of, you know, they offer burning just like we do currently.
Right.
So you get a permit on the day of your burn.
Okay, and is there, obviously, I think the answer to this is gonna be no, but is there any way for us to know, just because a permit was issued, was the burning actually conducted?
Not without conducting a site visit to go out there and look.
I knew the answer to that, but, you know, because, I mean, somebody may get a permit, then they realize, oh, it's too windy, I don't wanna do this.
Correct.
So there may
understand your
be
point.
hundreds of permits being issued and no fire gets started.
That is a possibility.
That could
yes.
be, it could be significant, it might not. Okay. That's the end of my questions.
And council, any other questions?
Yeah, I had a quick question. You mentioned burn complaints and the amount of staff time dealing with those. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers of the number of burn complaints, and then I would have to be honest, we don't have a differentiation between whether it was a complaint being posed on a burn that was permitted versus one that wasn't. But we currently send a fire engine to any outdoor burn complaint. So, you know, you're talking about wear and tear on the engine. You're talking about, you know, fuel costs, personnel costs, taking them away from other emergencies. And then, once again, we have to make a determination at the time when we get there. Is a permit in fact obtained? So we would want to see the permit. But then again, it becomes a judgment call at that point as to whether is this smoke in fact bothering other people or is it not? And you know, it's not like noise. We don't have a noise meter, a decibel meter that we can say this noise is too loud. Just a small wafting of smoke coming out of a little bit of, you know, smoldering leaves may be, you know, very bothersome to some neighbors, and to others they may enjoy the smell. So it's a judgment call by the fire crew on scene, and for the most part, if the fire meets the regulations of distances and a permit is obtained, then we're going to allow the resident to continue burning. So, you know, say a lot of the times we get calls that are just, you know, they're calling because they're concerned about their neighbor, but they didn't do any due diligence of whether or not the neighbor actually has a permit or whether or not the you know, the rules are being followed. They just don't like it, or they don't want it to be there. You know, that is responding to calls, and I would say we do a good number of those. We definitely saw an increase during the red flag, or the periods between the red flag warnings that we had this last month, where, you know, we started issuing permits again because the red flag warnings were taken down by the National Weather Service, and the neighbors were still concerned that people shouldn't be burning, so they were calling 911, you know, to report.
And just one follow-up question, if you don't mind. Would you say most of the complaints that you get when a neighbor complains to someone out burning outdoors, is it the smoke that they're complaining about, or?
We do get complaints of the smoke, but we literally just get complaints because they don't think the person should be burning.
Okay.
So we get both.
Okay, thanks.
One final question, sorry, but when you get called out, or if you go to visit a site, is there any way that you've tracked how many of the fires you've actually had to do fire suppression means when you get there? Whether that's, you know, dropping the hoses and spraying it, or, I mean.
Yeah, I'm sure we could run that. I say a lot of times we'll use the residence's garden hose to put the fire out, or other things like that. So whether or not extinguishment takes place, I would have to look at our data and see what the fire crews have been documenting. And like I said, we don't have a differentiation between a brush fire on the median of Highway 54 and a brush fire controlled burn in your backyard in our fire data system right now, so it becomes very hard to separate those out as to whether it was a complaint from a neighbor or the homeowner called because their fire that they did have got out of control, or it really was just a fire that maybe from a discarded cigarette butt or something like that.
Mr. DiStadio, any questions?
Chief, how many fires have we had? Not permits, I see how many permits you have issued, but how many uncontrolled fires have we had?
I don't have that data right now, sir.
Did you say it was?
Controlled or out of control?
Out of control.
So out of control fires that somebody has had in
You
their.
gave me a permit and I let it go too far.
Yeah, I would say out of all those, very few have
Of the
have
1,500.
resulted in an uncontrolled fire situation. I say we had one last night, just ironically before this meeting, but very few fires that we get called to that started out as a controlled burning of yard debris ended up in an uncontrolled fire.
That's a good situation.
Yes.
Keep
So
it
so
controlled.
one, and I prefaced my earlier statement. I am not concerned about the fire risk danger. I am concerned about the fact that we cannot control where the smoke goes, and therefore that leads to citizen complaints, citizen issues, and then since it's a relatively small amount of people are actually using the burning process to get rid of their yard debris, I think that it would be something that would be totally feasible for the city of Peachtree City to eliminate.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
If I may, Council, I've been hearing complaints like the one we heard today in public comment for 15 years, up on the days, 15 years, and it's never going to go away. I can only imagine if I had a child with allergies and my house was captive to someone who was burning yard debris. We have a facility in Peachtree City that will take your yard debris. I think it's free. Is the mulch center free, Justin?
Yeah, for our residents.
For
yeah.
our residents, we have a free facility where we can take yard debris. It is my opinion that for reasons of air quality, for reasons of safety, and we're only talking about from October 1st through May 1st because state law covers May 1st through October 1st. It is my opinion that we should rip the Band-Aid and prohibit burning in backyards. I've been hearing this for 15 years. I wouldn't want it in my neighbor's yard, and some of our yards are small. And I think if we put the 200 feet limit like Noonan does, I think that's very burdensome to our staff. And I would recommend that we ask for an ordinance change per Mr. Felmett's recommendation that we ban yard debris burning in our backyards. I just want to know your opinion on that. We have a facility. You can take it for free.
Madam Mayor, I agree with what you're saying, and I will add a few other things to that. I think it's an environmental issue, first of all, and I think that was well said by the chief. But I think that there's an issue of not just the burning and the environmental stuff and the smell and the leaves and all of that. It's people want to get rid of their yard debris. And you brought up that we can have them put it in your car and deliver it over to the mulch pile. My thought is that we should look at this as far as an ordinance is concerned, that number one, we, as you say, rip the Band-Aid off and let's ban it. But more importantly is the citizens are going to need to remove their yard waste. I think that that should be going into a secondary issue, which is trash disposal. Not only is trash disposal, we get that in the recycling, but let's add a third leg to that stool. Let's make sure that yard waste can be picked up so that the people don't have to burn it, they don't have to put it in their cars, and they don't have to deliver it to the mulch pile, which we don't know the future of the mulch pile in the city at this point. So I'd say it's really something that this, and I agree with you, I think the city council needs to take a closer look at this and come up with some ideas, and I think we ought to partner with the fire department with their recommendations. That's my 2 cents on this.
Any other thoughts on that?
Mr. Holland, you're talking about getting the bags. You see, there's a lot of cities that have bags of trash.
Yes.
And you put your leaves and branches and
Yard waste in there.
and you bring the bag over to the area where it can be burned or disposed of.
Well, he's saying put it out at the curb.
At the curb.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So you're saying get bags and put it out at the curb.
You got it.
Well, that's gonna be a cost to the citizens.
I'm sure it is, but I think that may mitigate some of the other issues of not having any burning and having the citizens at least have a way to get rid of their yard waste. And yes, there may be a cost in there.
Anybody else? Thoughts?
Oh, I had a quick, they have a fire marshal that comes and visits before they do a burn. And you said that that's a 200-foot clearance for any structure. Say a property meets those standards and they have a large enough yard, does that fire marshal, every time they want a permit, does that fire marshal have to go out every single time? Or can a property, say you have, because we also have some large lots here in Peachtree City, you know, and if they have a large amount of yard debris, you know, can it be where they're established, where it's not a continual?
I would
How
have
does
to
that
reach
work?
out to them and ask. I didn't get that deep into the conversation with them at that point. I will say that one of the issues with that process is that, in my experience, when people want to burn yard debris, they want to burn it today. They want to wake up in the morning at 7 a.m., get out there and start their fire. And if you're going to have to call and get on my calendar for me to come out and do a site visit of your yard, and then for me to issue you a permit, I may not be able to issue a permit until, 3 or 4 days after you want me to come out. And then the weather may not be right. It may be raining or whatever else. So I do see, to me, that is a very inefficient way to do that. But I could ask them some more questions and see if they allow that to be an established resident that no longer needs to call for a permit or whatever. But I'd have to reach out. I don't have that down.
Okay, and as far as yard removal, according with, following up with Councilman Holland, I feel like there's a lot of trash services that offer that residents can pay for on top of I think my trash service, if I want yard debris taken away, it's something I can pay for as an as-needed basis. I think the city provides a way for us
I'm not sure about Pollard, but I know like GFL and Republic, they have like the resources like brush pickup. It's not included in our monthly bills. Like you have to contact them and schedule a pickup for specifically like branches or yard debris. They'll come do it, and then they do charge extra. But I know it is something that they do.
That's another option then.
Right, yeah. Okay, I don't have any more questions,
Okay.
thank you.
Anybody else? Council, what do you think? What do you want to do? I would ban burning. I myself would support asking staff to bring us an ordinance change to Mr. Felmett's point that would ban burning.
I would agree with you, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
I think
anybody?
the council would direct the staff to go ahead and put that together for us.
Let's see if we have any other consensus.
I would agree with that.
Ms. Burley?
I hate taking away the option for people to burn when they have really large lots and a lot of debris that kind of surpasses their ability to haul it to the mulch pit. I mean, it's hard to believe that we have lots in Peachtree City that would meet that requirement, but as you even stated, we have some 5 and 10 acre plots, lots. I think those are in a very different category than, houses in a subdivision where, the houses are too close together. And I don't know whether we should look at it in terms of, okay, certain subdivisions, you just can't burn, the houses are too close, et cetera, or do it based on, how your property is zoned, I think different size lots have different needs, different issues.
Mr. DiStadio, thoughts?
Chief, I'm not really in favor of banning them altogether. I think there's enough avenues where people can get the yard debris hauled off and or taken care of. So I would not be in favor of banning it.
You're not in favor of banning burning of
Yes,
yard
ma'am.
debris? What would you like instead?
Make the information available for how you can pick it up. I know that you can put it over to the dump, but you can go a lot of places to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
I don't think we want to ban it. There's a lot of people that, I mean, I have a neighbor that burns and I get really irritated because it goes in my yard, but it's his right to burn. So I would not be in favor of banning it. Totally.
All right. Is there a reasonable compromise we can all agree on? Maybe a 5-acre lot? Is that too burdensome on our, I'm trying not to make this a, you know, to your point, Ms. Brown, I totally understand that there are some lots that really it wouldn't be harmful at all under the right circumstances. Where do we find that sweet spot?
I don't know, 5 acres may be too much to require, but
How many 5-acre lots do we have? We don't have that many.
actually more than you think, Frank. Oddly enough. But, I mean, I don't have that number in front of me, so I can't say that. So maybe what we need is a better breakdown of data from, I don't know what the GIST data can tell us, to give us some sort of an idea. The other part is, and I'm gonna use a word that everybody's gonna go, really, it appears we may have some serial burners, you know, who just burn. My question before I would wanna really look at this issue and say yes or no, you know, are those the people that have the larger lots that have a real issue trying to haul their stuff? I think we need to look into this more before we just say, let's put forward a total ban on burning. We may have to come up with some sort of a, whether it's a lot size or limit the number of permits you can get in any one month or year so that, you know, the neighbors aren't gonna be burdened day after day after day with a burn pile.
I think that's completely reasonable, but we need to, for staff's sake, we need to be clear on what we want to see. And I think you might have just said it. Lot size, you know, can we drill down in the data just a little bit to lot size and what's the nature of the serial burner? You just said it. What
I
else?
said a serial burner
Yeah.
where they're burning day after day after day. I mean, the numbers kind of played out. It was kind of shocking when you're looking at that, and I'm gonna try to go to it, that 50% of all the permits are issued to 137 addresses. Can we hone in on that, you know, number even more, like for the address? And I understand based on the IT and the data collection, street addresses may be in there one way versus another, and it may take printing it out and looking at how they're being keyed in there to say, oh, these 8 permits are actually the same one, even though it doesn't.
That already has been done.
Okay, so then, you know, can we aim at a maximum number that may be allowed of burning permits in, I don't know, a month or a year or something for a particular? I mean, I'd be more in favor of that. Like, if the complaints are coming because of the serial burners, then how do we stop the serial burners? Because putting a ban in for everybody when it's not a big issue for everybody, let's fix the problem and not like across the board, you know.
Sure, and once again, Ms. Brown, the difficulty we'll have doing any kind of enforcement, limiting by address size, anything like that, is gonna come down to, we do not have the programs or the, you know, the mechanism to do that. So that is gonna be an added cost, and there will have to be a cost assumed with that. And then, you know, do we require a fee-based system, or do we just take it out of taxpayer dollars to raise that? My suggestion, if we look at this, it seems that we could implement a burning, you know, a banning of yard debris unless you have a certain size yard. And we could come up with what that number is. We can use the numbers of Noonan, and we can go through the GIS folks and planning and zoning and try to figure out what size acreage of a yard gets you that 200 feet clearance, you know, and come up with a number. Is it 2 acres? Is it 2.5? Is it 5? Whatever it is. But then at that point, if we have a permit system up on our website, once again, how are we going to limit that? Because somebody's going to go in there and they're not going to read that one section. And I will tell you, there are probably way more burning events that happen in the city than what we have permits for. Even though we have a permit process in place and it is clearly shown on our website, we do respond to burn complaints a lot that they do not have permits. They were unaware that there was a permit needed. They don't know that there's a rule to be followed. So you're still going to have those situations, but at least we will have a very defined means to deal with it. You are burning without, there is no permit for you. You cannot be burning, and we can make them extinguish and educate them at that time. But if you would like, I could put two different ordinances together, one with total ban, one with lot sizes, and we can look at it.
It sounds
Hey,
like
Chief-
lot sizes and one permit for every 30 days or 21 days or something like that.
Correct, and once again, to do that, the way the system currently works is we have no way to stop you from going back in and getting another permit. So, another option is to use the city permitting system that we already have for tree removals and things like that. The problem is that system is not instantaneous. So once again, if I want to burn today, I can't go to the city's permitting portal and say, I want to have a residential burn today, please approve my burn permit, because someone is going to have to log in, go to the system, see the web request, approve the web request, and then the permit becomes issued to the homeowner. And so that may be middle of the day, late morning, afternoon, before they get the permit that they actually want. Or if if they're thinking ahead and I want to burn Saturday, and they go through the process, they get their permit, and then Saturday is inclement weather, it's pouring down rain, thunderstorm, they can't light their fire. They just got a permit that they couldn't use. So that would be some issues that we would have to look into in the big picture there. Which I agree, it would make sense to say you can only have one fire a month or one fire a year, or whatever you want to do, but we would have to find a way to manage that.
Hey, Chief,
Yes, sir.
why are we overcomplicating this? It seems to me we're coming up with all this, well, what about a size? What about this? Has everyone forgotten your first thought today? And do you remember what his first thought was? There's environmental issues here. It may be a 5-acre lot, but I can still smell it. Look at the size of my nose. You can tell. I can smell it from a long ways away. I think that's more disturbing. If you got a little backyard friend, you got family in the backyard, and you've got to smell the smoke from a 5-acre lot that's next door to you that has the right to burn. That's not good living in our city. And I just think we forget about that environmental issue of the smoke, because it goes whatever way the wind blows. It'll come over to the mayor's lot, it'll come to my lot from someplace else in the city. So I'm saying we're overcomplicating this by saying all these details. Let's just ban it. I'm sorry. You can have it picked up and hauled away. I'm sorry. That's just my position.
I would agree. Anybody else, last minute thoughts?
I mean, I think there's some good thoughts that have been shared, and it sounds like one of the things that really stands out to me is just, we want something that's enforceable.
Yep.
And it sounds like there's a lot going on here that's involved with this. There is still part of me that would like to see, because we do have some big lots, as I mentioned earlier. So I would say I would still be interested in seeing options.
All right, well, let's take Mr. Felmet up on his kind offer to create the dual ordinance options, and we'll discuss it further, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'm going to propose the complete banning of burning outdoor yard debris, and then come up with a reasonable lot size based on the statistics that we showed from the city of Noonan, and I'll do some research in some other places that use similar things to come up with a lot size, whether it's 2.5, and I'll also get data from planning, zoning, ArcGIS, Fayette County property tax of how many lot sizes we have over 2.5 acres or so, and then I will present you an ordinance based on one of those lot size numbers.
That makes good sense to me. Everybody good with that?
I got one more question.
Okay.
I thought we had really good gist data that could break some of that kind of stuff down.
We do.
Do we need to, and I'm not trying to be a smart mouth here, but do we need to doge the system and make these computer databases talk to each other so that we have a method
Do we-
of monitoring and limiting.
So we already have lot sizes based on chickens, correct?
Right, so we do have
20,000
good,
square
we do
feet.
have good GIS data. I know, we pull lot sizes from the county, which can be like, I'm not gonna comment, never mind. Sorry, Shayla. But I will say, if you go into Q Public, we pull some of that same data too, and for some reason, some parcels will read like 0 acres or zero, so, we would have to go in and do some polygons sometimes with some, so there's some, yes. The data we have is what most people see on Q Public as far as parcel data, because we get it from the same place you do. But we can go in and measure things. Like if we have a big lot that is for some reason reading 0 acres, either for chickens or for burning, we can go in and actually draw that polygon and see what it comes out to. So, yes.
That's what I did to determine I can have chickens.
Let's let him take a crack at it? Are we in agreement?
Yes.
All right.
agree.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
And when-
Chief.
When would you like this, at the next workshop meeting?
As you are able,
you-
as
When
you
you're
are able.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks very much.
We'll shoot for next work session, Jeff.
As-
We'll see.
Thank you. Item E, Kedron Pool Enclosure Replacement Options. Harold Layton.
Good morning, Mayor, Madam Mayor and Council. I am here this morning to discuss the Kedron Pool enclosures, as well as some other things going on with the pool that we've recently noticed. Our current structure is an Horizon air-supported structure that was originally installed in 2012. We've had, we're right at the life expectancy of that structure. We have had to have several repairs done to the mechanical systems of the structure itself. There's also been many repairs to the bubble fabric itself as well. When we are installing this bubble over the pool, currently, it takes about 440 man-hours over a 2-week period to install this structure. The removal is about 495 hours, in a 2-week time period as well.
Sorry to interrupt you, Harold, but to come to that too, to put that in perspective of like an average maintenance technician with those hours and the people who are using it, comes out to about $10,000 up and down each. So about $20,000 of labor hours per year for both. Go ahead, sorry.
No, thank you. We pulled some data for the past year. We have almost 16,000 pool users that have used the pool, on a basis. 70% of those are Peachtree City residents that we are noticing. So I want to discuss several options that, we have out there as far as, on the table that we can look at possibly replacing the structure with. Option one, is replacing with another air-supported structure from Horizon. The material cost is about $500,000, but that does not include a lot of things. None of the civil work, the architectural engineering, pool covers, lighting, cables, any of that thing that's not included in this. That would all have to be budgeted. We're projecting that number will be somewhere around $1.5 million when all is said and done. This is for a 20-year projected life cycle, which is currently better than what we currently have now at the pool.
But again, put it up, take it down.
Put it up, take it down. That's, for 20 years at $20 an hour roughly, we're looking at $400,000 in employee cost, for over a 20-year span. So option two, and these are in no specific order, these are just, these were the first two that I actually received emails from the vendors.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Can we ask you questions as we go along so
Sure.
that we're not jumping back?
You want me to go back to the last slide?
Yeah, can you go back? And
Sure.
okay, so you're saying this is one that you're putting up and down. Is it any more efficient in installing and uninstalling each year? Is it, or would this be the same as far as man hours?
This is essentially the same
Okay.
thing that we currently have. You know, there are options out there that we can do to this, to every one of these, you know, enclosures. You know, if you look up at the photo right here, they do offer an opaque roof on a bubble now that, you know, allows a little bit more sunlight in, but it's gonna be the same thing that you're used to seeing. You know, there's still the same things that we've got to worry about with as far as, you know, multiple liners, you know, and the layers of that fabric itself once they're inflated and being in that environment with the salt water that's converted to chlorine, you know, being acidic to all the metals that are in the bubble right now that we have. So all that's got to be considered into this, and, you know, ultimately, that's where we're at.
Okay, thanks.
So again, this is from Open Air. This is, you know, the picture represents, you know, the concept that they've discussed with me. You know, this is somewhere between a $2.9 to $3.2 million material cost. You know, that's, you know, if you look at this would be a permanent structure that would stay up year round. And there are several options for this, such as a retractable roof. Like if you look at the picture, you know, the glass that you're seeing on the top on this specific roof is actually retractable, that can be opened up and closed. But it, you know, it's got a lot of glass, a lot of polycarbonate, and you see the warranties on those and the, you know, the estimated life cycle as well. But again, this does not include, excuse me, any foundation or structural supports, you know, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, none of that is included in this.
So that cost does not include those items?
Correct. All right. The third option is a Dynadome structure, where you receive, I just received this quote on Tuesday of this week. The budgetary quote that they have given me is $2.55 million. That is delivered and installed, however, again, does not include any of the civil engineering or architecture that goes into that, the site work, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, et cetera. That's all stuff that we would have to do in-house.
This
You
is
know,
permanent again? It's not put up,
this-
take down?
This is another permanent structure, yes.
So do you have any costs for those items that you're saying are excluded?
No, I mean, right now, we don't. We would have to speak with an architectural or engineering firm, you know, to get, you know, a concept of what that cost would be, and then get them to actually design it, and then go from whatever our engineering firm gives us the recommendation
It
on.
makes for a very difficult decision.
It does.
Did this one have a warranty?
It does, but they did not send that data when they sent the quote. I've got to reach back out to them as well.
Well, and Councilman DeStadio, to that point, I will say, because I've talked to a couple of council members this week as well, we're not asking y'all to make a decision today. You
I
know,
understand
really-
that, but there's a point in
Eventually,
time when
yes.
you're gonna have to make that decision.
Correct.
What is, okay, you just want to present the options today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
This
that's-
is,
And we want you to discuss. We
Sure.
want to have a discussion.
All right, thank you.
I think all of the options that you've been bringing up, from engineering, architectural, HVAC, et cetera, they're going to be the same basically for all the different options. So you can almost take that off the board and let's just talk about the actual structure, because that's really, I think, what you're looking for at this point. Is that right, Harold?
it is correct, but, you know, I want to be fair to you that,
Certainly.
you know, I don't want to say that this is a $2.5 million project and that's what it's going to be, and then, you know, a year from now, when we actually put this out to bid, we're getting back quotes of $10 million. You know?
Understood.
Yeah,
Understood that. But that's going to be on all of them, is
Correct.
basically all of those additional things that are not included in the actual structure.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But all the foundation costs and stuff, Clint, are gonna be different.
Yeah, that's true. but I'm sure that there's going to be a substantial cost no matter which one you do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right, let's keep going.
Yep.
So option 4, I have not received an actual quote from Sprung Structures, but we verbally discussed and actually had the president of the company came down and looked at our facility, and we walked and toured, and he thinks that we can be around $1.6 to $2 million for materials. Waiting for those installation costs, we're thinking somewhere, you know, around the $3 million range, $3.5 million range gets us this. You know, the aluminum on this does have that warranty of 50 years, the wall material, and this is actually an insulated structure. It has 2 layers of material with insulation in between. It can be configured in many different ways where you've got garage doors that roll up on the side so that you can allow sunlight in. You know, it helps, you know, move air around and circulate, you know, so that we're not dealing with any kind of air quality issues. You know, this is a pretty good, you know, structure.
Permanent?
Yes, this is also a permanent structure. Some interesting things about this structure, though, is we discussed the possibility of using the current grade beam that we have.
The current what?
The grade beam that we have that actually holds the bubble, that we would try to mirror that, since that's an actual 5-foot footing, 4.5, 5-foot footing in the ground. And you know, they think that, you know, we would still need to do the engineering, but they feel confident that we would be able to use that footing,
The existing footing.
the existing footing.
That's certainly going to save us a little bit.
Correct.
Not a lot, but it will save a little bit as long as the structural weight is going to be acceptable for those footings.
Yes.
Okay.
Does this one also have options with fabric where you could possibly have it be more transparent and more sunlight with this?
I've got to look into that. We discussed that earlier, you know, in another conversation, but yes, we are. I'm going to reach out to the vendor and see, you know, if we can get something that, you know, is a little more translucent at the very top. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, I want to wait. So before we go to the next slide, there's also a 5th option that I want to kind of go back and talk about, and that is what we currently have. So our current bubble, we could put it up for another year. We have issues that we know that we've got to work on, you know, if that goes back up. The inflator that holds the bubble up, we've had some issues with that, and we've had those motors remanufactured for the fans. We are looking that we will need to do that so that we do not have any catastrophic failures of our system should we elect to put these structures back up, or put the structure that we currently have back up. Okay. Now, also, let's go back and talk about option 4 here. The lead time that we currently have from the vendor is they're looking at about a month to 6 weeks to actually manufacture the materials, and they can install about 1,000 square foot of this a day, which we're right around 17,000 square foot. So about 17 to 20 days, realistically, we could actually have this installed once the material's on site. All right, if we go back to options 2 and 3, those are anywhere from a 12-month to 14 or 16-month lead time from materials being, you know, shipped to us to the time that it's actually built to the time that we're using the pool. Option 1, the air support structure, minimum of a 10-month lead time to get that engineered and built and shipped from the factory.
And that's just the materials. That doesn't include installation.
Sir?
That's just the materials, not the installation.
Correct.
Where the item number 4, you're looking at a much shorter time frame for installation in addition to the materials being there and only a month.
Correct.
Did I hear that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So in the event that we were to do something other than You know, if we were to pick one of these and we wanted to reinstall the bubble again to get us through this season, we would still have some issues and some mechanical things that we would need to address immediately in order for this current bubble to go back up.
Those mechanical issues, all the mechanicals are new, like with option 4, we take those, I mean, we've been limping along for a long time, and it sounds like even one more year is iffy.
Yes.
And is it a true statement that option 4, you know, if we're looking at 2 million, a short lead time, may be able to mirror our current grade beam footing, it's a permanent structure. Is it true then that we solve all of our electrical and boiler and pump and, you know, all the fans and everything we've been struggling with, does that get solved with this option 4?
It does, because we would essentially, the air support fans that we have, those would go away, and we would essentially need, you know, our boiler to heat the pool, and then we would need an HVAC system to heat and cool the air temperature inside the facility. And that's, you know, and other than that, just lighting, that's all we would need.
That would be new.
Yes.
Where,
And
is there an example of this? Oh, I'm sorry, Justin, go ahead.
Well, to answer, if there's an example, they did one of these in Chamblee, that is up now, and then they're currently installing one in Jefferson.
Correct.
Of option 4, that we could visit.
Road trip.
Yep. But this quote, the 1.6 to 2 million, Harold, it includes the structure, it includes, well, and we don't have the official quote yet. This is a verbal quote, but it includes the manufacturing of it, the delivery of it, and the installation of it. But it does not include the HVAC system.
Correct.
And the engineering necessarily. So the price, you know, if they quoted 2 million on the high end, the price could go up to 2.5, 3 million.
Right.
2.53, depending on the other systems that need to be. I just want to.
Yeah, and
But you're looking at a 50-year structure here,
Yes.
as opposed to a 10-year structure with the bubble.
Correct.
Does that structure stay up in the summertime then? Now we have a covered pool in the summertime.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's the reason why I think Councilwoman Johnson was saying, is there some light that we can get in on the top of this so that it does have a little bit of a nice look in the summertime, and or so I see on the picture here that maybe there's some kind of garage doors that we can lift up to get some fresh air coming in there during the summertime.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And, you know, just like anything, you know, the more options that we put into this, you know, it's going to drive the cost up a little bit more, but, you know, if those are options that we want to do, yes.
Well, it appears that swimming pools are a lot like some of the other things. They're services to our citizens. We don't make money on a swimming pool. At least I don't think we do. But I think that this is part of the service that we provide from the tax dollars that they pay, is to give them a good facility so that they can have year-round, heated and air-conditioned, if needed, a system there that's going to work for all the citizens. And I happen to like that concept as you look at this item number 4. And plus, it looks like it's a local Georgia company. So that's even a little bit better.
Okay, Ms. Brown? Sorry, I thought you.
Where did you, yeah, I do have some questions. Sorry, I just got thrown off when he said it was a local Georgia company. Where did I miss that part?
No, they've done a lot of
It's
manufacturing.
not in the presentation, but
Yeah.
this is one of the, yes, I think they're Canadian, like they're based in Canada, but they have a location in Atlanta. Right. But Councilman Holland had asked that question separately.
Are the materials made here in the United States, though?
Yes.
Or
they-
is it,
They actually have a factory in Minnesota that they manufacture all these for.
That's good.
okay, because with tariffs being what they are.
They have that under control.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Questions?
I guess I'm gonna be the,
Well, the next page is the page I want to talk about. Go ahead.
I just don't know why we're doing all of this. How many citizens do we have that use this pool?
There were
15,000. 15,000.
Citizens was 10, or?
There's total, in the past 12 months, we've had 15,593 total users. 10,912 of those were Peachtree City residents.
So almost 6,000 were non-Peachtree City residents.
Correct.
I would suggest that we ask staff to continue the conversation with a focus on option 4. I would like, we want to see solid numbers and understand all the corollaries and get Council Member Johnson's questions answered about translucency and light and maybe additional costs for the roll-up doors and things like that. Does anybody disagree that we should get more information about that?
Oh, I think we need more information.
absolutely.
for sure.
Definitely.
More
Yeah.
information.
I think we've got a good start here, Carol, and I think we just need more information at this point.
Yes, sir.
Fair? No, Ms. Johnson. I mean, Ms. Brown, sorry.
Okay, I know it's hard to put the cart before the horse instead of behind where it belongs, but, at some point, is it possible to get an idea of how much, and I mean, the boiler is a separate issue, we're gonna deal with that in a minute, I think, but the HVAC system and all of the add-ons to get the most accurate projections for us to look at, because, a structure that's cost $2 million has $3 million worth of, add-on things and cost and whatever, versus one that's $4 million with only, 500,000 of add-ons, gets weighed out very differently, in our opinion, because, ultimately, we have to make the decision to burden the taxpayers with paying for this.
Correct.
And
I've asked to get more detailed numbers, and a lot of these companies require that we spend a little bit of money to actually start working on the architectural designs because of what has to go into all that, so that they are able to size the units, the way that they're supposed to be for what we've got to use. And if you want to interject on that, Dave.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on that, on expectations. The way this process works from talking with the manufacturers is that you're not going to get an accurate bid quote on this up front. You have to go through the design to make sure that this, whatever structure you want, will fit in the space that we have. We have constraints. The current bubble touches the existing building. If you look at all the other pictures that you saw, these pools were out in the middle of nowhere, nothing next to them. We have a structure on either side of our pools. We have a weird configuration, I will say, with our pools. It's not a rectangle. It's like an L with the two pools. So the numbers that you're getting, I want to make sure that everyone in this room understands they are budget estimates. I think the goal here that we were trying to do was to give council an order of magnitude price to say, what do you want to continue to do? Do you want to invest around 1.5 million and continue doing a bubble? Or do you want to pursue a more expensive option of putting a permanent structure over the pool? If you do, then we need to pursue doing engineering, design plans, and then get accurate cost estimates at that point. I think that's what we were trying to do. And then one other point of clarification was, no matter what we decide to do, we're not going to, if you decide to do go new bubble, we're not going to have a new bubble next year. We're going to have to put up the existing bubble one more year for the lead times and everything. So even if we ordered a bubble today, we won't have it for next year. So I hope that
You're certainly managing expectations.
Yes.
Yes.
Clear as mud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
clear as
other,
mud.
obviously, the other elephant in the room is if we go for certain options, then we have to bring in, are we gonna do that through a bond issue, and what the time frame is for a bond issue, and all of the complications of that, which, because there's no money for this in the fiscal year 2025 budget. That's what I want everybody to understand. This is not a budgeted item anywhere.
Right, but we look to our city manager then for recommendations.
So that's why we wanted to have this item on the agenda today too, is because we're talking about, the 26th budget a little later in this meeting. And I've had a conversation with a few of you about potential facilities bond, not just with this, but with some other things included in it as well. So yes, that would be an option of, do we do a bond? Do we pay cash for this? Budget in 26. And we knew, I think I've had a conversation with a few of you too, the past budget cycles I've been through, I've warned councils the past few years that this bill was coming due in the next, in the next 2 to 3 years. I've been saying it over and over. In the next 2 to 3 years, a decision has to be made with Kedron because it is at the end.
Well,
And we're here now.
okay. And the other issue with regard to doing it as a bond issue is we can put it forth, put it out there, and the citizens vote to reject it.
Well, facilities bond, you
So
don't put out. to
You don't put out?
referendum.
That does not go on the,
Just
okay.
approved by council.
Yep.
Any other questions about options?
Do you have say for instance, we need to, with the decision that we make, use the current bubble for one more season, and you said that there's some cost for some mechanical issues that would need to be addressed. Do you have an idea what those costs would be? And my assumption is that that's not, if we're only using this for one more year, we're investing in equipment that we're using for 1 year.
Correct. So we do have a ballpark figure. We're still awaiting for the quotes to come back from Shoemate on what those are gonna be. It's gonna land somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000
For
then
what
you
was
need
that,
to-
for
you-
what was that for?
to replace the
repairs.
motors or the fans for the air unit itself to actually inflate the bubble.
So if we
Maybe we
use
use
the
it.
bubble for 1 more year, this is the cost for the mechanical issues
Okay.
to make it usable for just 1 season.
Plus, you need to add to that, the put up and the takedown
Yeah.
of another 20,000 on top of that number.
Yep.
Correct,
So you're looking at probably 50 grand just to keep it for 1 more year.
correct.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky. Good
Correct.
point.
All right.
So
All right.
I'm not sure that's a wise way to spend the taxpayer dollars.
So any other issues or questions about the options? Do you feel clear on what we want to do next? We all are leaning on more information on option 4. I think
Okay.
we all seem to understand that this would be a permanent structure. It has the shortest lead time. We could probably take a road trip, seriously, I want to go see this before I spend money on this, to Chamblee or Jefferson. It's an insulated structure. We could explore the option of roll-up doors and translucency. And,
That's
maybe able to mirror the current grade beam footing.
Right.
No more air support fans. And I would be in favor of getting more information on that.
So when y'all say more information, I guess what I want to be clear on is, like what Dave said, do you want us to seriously start kind of looking at option 4 and pursuing some engineering, get some drawings, look at actual, like, what is all this going to cost in total? on
I
option
for
4?
one would support that.
And I would support it also. It's better than spending $50,000 and we're still gonna have to do it later on. Let's do it now and spend that money. And, we've still gotta discuss the other issues at the pools. So to me, I don't wanna put, I don't wanna put sunk money into something I'm not gonna get back. And I don't like that. So let's,
Option 4.
yep, let's move forward,
Anybody?
exactly as the mayor said.
Are the structures that are in Jefferson and Chamblee, are either of those complete?
Excuse me, what was the last
Are
one?
either of the structures that have been built in Chamblee or Jefferson, are either of those complete?
Chamblee's is.
Chamblee is.
is.
Jefferson, I think, within the next.
And Chamblee's, I will say, is a private pool. It's not a city-run pool.
Okay,
It's a private company, but I'm sure we could talk to them.
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, sure, yes, I would like some information on this. And if the company has, pictures and things that we can see and get a better
It
idea.
just looks like a
and-
Quonset hut to me.
It does.
It's supposed to.
Look like a what?
Quonset.
Quonset hut.
He doesn't know what that is.
Yep, you gotta know what it is.
Oh, my goodness. All right, any other questions, council?
Move on to this one.
No.
We have
now-
one more slide with
Now
one.
the,
slide.
now the
We're trying
elephant in the room.
Yes, yes,
Option 4.
yep.
Yep.
All right, so, in the past few weeks, it's been brought to my attention that we have a leak that we have in the large pool at Kedron. It's leaking at a rate of 1.5 to 2.5 inches per 24 hours, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 to almost 7,000 gallons over a 24-hour period.
This is the existing pool?
Correct.
We're just now finding out about a leak?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're managing expectations again.
Mine are high.
Yeah.
We have done some testing over the past week ourselves. We actually turned off all the pumps to make sure that none of our plumbing was the cause of the leak, and that has been ruled out. Over a 4.5 day period, we lost 2 to 2.5 inches of water the first day, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches the second day. And over the weekend, we kind of slowed down to where we were at a level of about 6 inches that we lost over a 4.5 day period. So we have reached out to United Pools, and they have found a leak detection firm that is going to come out and do a test on our pool to see where we're actually leaking water from.
Do we have a cost to that?
We do. That's going to cost $3,000 for the test to be
For the
performed.
leak test?
For the test, correct. In speaking with United Pools about this, they have asked that the leak detection test, the people that do that be the ones that actually go in and repair the pool. They're more expert in the field than United Pools is. And so we're looking to pursue that once we have the source of the leak and what that cost is.
Okay.
So the next thing that I want to discuss was pool resurfacing. So realistically, we're 3 to 5 years out on this project. We currently have on the large pool 5 layers of plaster on the pool walls themselves. So we cannot replaster the pool again without chipping out all 5 of those layers, getting down. Essentially, if we were taking a roof, we would have to take 5 layers of shingles off and then re-roof the house. Okay, so we've got to take 5 layers of plaster off and then replaster the pool. That's what's got to be done. Now, with this, because we're looking at 3 to 5 years, timing of this. If we're about to put if we're possibly discussing installing a permanent structure, is this something that we want to go ahead and do? Because this will be a, 4 to 8 week process to remove all the layers of plaster that we have and to recoat the pool and fill it up and rebalance the pool. So that's just another thing that we need to discuss and, kind of figure out, hey, which direction do we want to go with this, the way that we're moving.
Harold, when do we shut down the pool in the fall? Is it like October 1st?
It's typically around, we usually work around the breaks, I think. I know we use spring break, to remove the bubble right now, and then we're shut down for 2 weeks. It's late September, early October.
That's what I thought. I'm going to use October 1st just for discussion purposes. If we say, let's hold our nose and wait till October 1st, shut it all down, fix it during the 8 weeks. At the same time, you've got potentially looking at the permanent structure. We could be looking at some of the engineering and some of the other things. So by the time the pool is finished being repaired, say in November sometime, you could be looking at beginning the structure potentially, putting it up, and hopefully if it's done according to this company that says 17 weeks, I mean, you're looking at maybe by March of 26 that it could be ready. Is that kind of my thinking right as far as the dates and stuff on that, if you go down that road?
I mean, you could. I mean, it depends on what we do as far as the bidding process, the design and engineering, where we come on all that, because that's, how long engineering process, how long do you think that would take?
Engineering-wise, I think an architect would need at least probably 4 to 6 weeks to do what they needed to do.
Okay, a lot of it looks like it's gonna have to be concurrent and not consecutive.
So, and that's, just wanted to let you guys know that this is what's going on at the pool right now. And Dave, do you want to talk about the boiler?
That's
That'll be
coming up.
Okay.
One other tidbit of information. This all may seem like a lot, but this facility's over 30 years old. I just wanted to throw that out too, that it is a 30-year-old pool, so.
All right, well, I appreciate Councilmember Holland's observation that maybe it would be possible to have it done as you have up here. Timing a project with possible pool enclosure replacement would be something we'd want to look at.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Again, putting that cart out there in front of the horse. Any idea how much the resurfacing of the pools will cost?
I do not have that number right now.
Because obviously, the last time it was done, it was adding a layer. Now we're talking removal. So the demo is gonna be, highly specific and very costly, I'm sure.
I will reach out to Sean Legg
Okay.
with United Pools and I will get that number.
All right.
And I mean, they might be able to do it just based on the gallon size of the pools and whatever. They may have better ideas. But I think that's a number we need to know. If that's gonna be, a required maintenance item in the next 3 to 5 years, that's something else. If the cost is a certain amount, that may need to go into consideration, again, whether that's bond issue or what, that money doesn't just appear because we'd like it to, so.
All right, anything else? Great.
My comments are that I'm disappointed that you guys have known about some of these problems. Obviously, you don't know about everything, but you'd have to start speculating what we've got for problems. You come back and you say, oh, by the way, we need another $2 million or $5 million. This just seems to be an ongoing problem. Put more money into it, and we don't get there. So I'd like to make sure that when you do come back, that you're confident that the number is going to be the number.
Yes, sir.
I think that's part of a 30-year facility. It would be like having a 30-year house, and then the hot water heater goes out, and then the roof needs replaced, and
I
there's
understand that.
Shut up, my house is that old.
And we always know in concept that roof is gonna need to be replaced, but darned if it isn't painful when it hits you and the roof starts leaking and you have to budget for it.
Again, shut up.
All right, thank you, thanks very much.
Thanks, Harold.
Item F, deer management for city property, Chris Hobby.
Madam Mayor, is there any way we could take a little?
Absolutely, let's take a
Council break?
4-minute break. We'll convene at 11:20.
Coffee rental 4 hours.
Took so long.
Hey, looks like we lost the citizens, Mayor.
That's all right. Reconvening. We have item F, deer management for city property. Chris Hobby.
Good morning. It is still morning. Good morning.
Yep.
Okay. Well, before I came here, I was not an expert in urban deer management, and I'm still not, but I know a lot more about it than I did 5 months ago. This is an issue that is being investigated and explored nationwide, and there are a lot of different ideas, a lot of research in this area. Georgia's kind of on the forefront of that. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources has a very thoughtful deer management plan that's statewide and also drills down to the urban level. So we're just going to present some of the facts and then what some options are. All right, so why is this something we even need to talk about? Well, deer vehicle collisions, that's a big issue, and that's the thing that we're kind of most familiar with. Property damage, landscape damage, those kind of things. Reducing deer spread disease, so you have tick-borne diseases that go to deer and that gets spread to humans. And then ecological balance and biodiversity. So all of those are the reasons why this is an issue that gets talked about. We've had over 200 reported, and that's a key word, reported, because a lot of these are not reported, deer-related collisions in Peachtree City since 2022. The intersection of Peachtree Parkway and Interlochen is a hotspot. So we also know that Fayette County ranks second in the state of Georgia for car versus deer collisions in raw numbers. If you look at per capita, one of the smallest counties in the state, Sly County, is actually the #1, but just in raw numbers of vehicle versus deer, Fayette County is second. And those cause significant property damage and injuries. Several counties near us have implemented management programs. Forsyth County is one example. Fairfax County, Virginia is kind of the gold standard. They've had their program in place since the late 1990s. They harvest over 1,800 deer annually, and 95% of that is achieved through archery. They have seen a significant drop in their vehicle versus deer collisions, and they've seen a significant drop in residential landscape damage. Newton County also has a managed deer management. They have a deer management program, and they do it with archery hunts on their land application facility, and they have had success with that. It's also worth noting that since 1998, when Fairfax County, Virginia put their program in place, and if you're familiar with Northern Virginia, it's very urbanized. Fairfax County is almost completely urbanized, and so that's why it's kind of become the prime example of urban management. But Fairfax County, since the late 90s, when they started this, has had 0 incidents of anyone being injured during their management season. So, and it is a very regulated process. Clayton County also has a program in place, includes regulated hunts, and it's also an archery-based program. Other notables are Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're all familiar with that. And then T-Town, New York also has a program in place. These are all archery-based programs. So what would it look like here? Well, managed archery hunts on select public properties, only allowing licensed or experienced hunters. You'd have to follow the safety protocols and the rules that are in place in other places, primarily Fairfax and Forsyth County, and partnership with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and local law enforcement would be key. Public education is also a very key component. Why is archery the preferred method nationwide? Well, because of limited range. It reduces the chance of bystanders becoming hurt. Hunters are required to pass safety and proficiency tests. You have to require that the hunters hunt from an elevated position so that the shots are controlled. And then, like I said, no safety incidents has ever been recorded in Fairfax County. Another option, and obviously we're not recommending any of these, this is just for consideration, but another option is USDA sharpshooter programs. This is U.S. Department of Agriculture. They provide programs where archery is not feasible. They bring in sharpshooters who are trained professionals. They operate at night. It does cost money, but it is effective in very dense population settings. So, it was mentioned earlier that we do not have the data for what our local herd looks like. So it's essential that we assess that. You want to know your herd size, where the hot spots are geographically, the health and reproduction rates, and that takes out guesswork and provides a more scientific approach. Doe, for instance, do not range much in their lifetime. They pretty much stay in one spot from birth to death. And so the doe population is pretty consistent. Bucks do roam, especially during rut. So this really didn't format very well, but why is a herd study important? Well, accurate data is obviously the key. Identifies where you have the highest population, and it looks beyond just the vehicle versus deer collisions. We have that data. We know where that occurs. It's not surprising where it occurs. It occurs along Peachtree Parkway. It occurs on Crosstown, on the major thoroughfares, and that's not surprising. But we have an almost ideal setting for deer. We have over 8,000 acres of forested land inside our city limits. We are a very forested environment that provides food source, and then also being an urban environment, the natural predators that exist for the deer are not present. So this is an ideal environment for deer to reproduce and thrive. And so we need to know where they are. Where are they living? Where are the hot spots? And so that is the idea behind doing a study. We got a proposal to do a study, and we've met with Department of Natural Resources, and they have mentioned some folks to us, and there's actually a guy in Sharpsburg that does this. It's $25,000 to do this study, so it's not expensive. But they fly the city with drones at nighttime. They identify where the herds are, where they're congregated, and then you have a better idea of if you're going to go down the road of allowing the regulated archery hunt on public property, you have a better idea of where you need to focus your attention.
Hey, Chris, before you go on to that next slide, it said, if you go back to that slide if possible, it said health assessment. Does that mean that they would go out into the woods and find out, not only where they are and how many there are, but how are they going to assess the health other than they see them limping around or whatever?
Yeah, I think that would come over time as we look at the size of the herd and look at how it is increasing or decreasing. So I don't think we would get that in the first batch of data. I think that would come as we studied it further.
Okay, fair enough.
So just some ideas. I'm not recommending that we do any of this today, obviously, but just where do we have public property that is in, large acreage? Line Creek Nature Area, 70 acres of land. Flat Creek is 175 acres. And then just a continuation of Flat Creek, but on the south of Crosstown area is 289 acres. What we would look to do is limit this try to get this distance from residential areas. During the hunting that was allowed, if you allowed hunting on, say, a Saturday in November, this area would be closed to the public. So you would have to, you'd have to manage it that way. I also wanted just to take some excerpts out of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources information. DNR is encouraging local governments, private landowners, homeowners, and homeowners associations to use regulated hunting to manage deer in urban settings. They have polled this statewide, and 82% of the population in Georgia supports deer management practices, and that primarily revolves around hunting. The use of regulated hunting is the most effective and efficient way to manage the urban population of deer. And despite some early misperceptions or apprehensions, hunts have proven to be safe. The state currently allows hunting in several state parks, some of which are located inside cities. City of Winder being one example, where a state park is entirely within their city limits, and hunting is allowed in that park. So you'll see from the slide, and you got the handout, that the state allows this in several of their state parks, and it has been an effective tool, and there have been no safety incidents. This is also an excerpt from the state plan. Hunter access is critical. If hunters cannot gain access to hunt private and public lands, effective deer management likely is not possible. And that's just a direct quote from the state's deer management plan. Another contrary misconception is that local governments have the authority to regulate hunting. Georgia law is very clear. OCGA 27-3-1. The power and authority to regulate hunting in the state of Georgia is reserved exclusively to the Board of Department of Natural Resources. We have no power to regulate hunting. The only power we have is to regulate the discharge of firearms for public safety purposes. So archery hunting is allowed, and we have no authority to regulate it. So on private property, archery hunting is clearly allowed under state law. So conclusions. We know that deer are posing a significant risk to life and injury and to property in Peachtree City. We can see that with data from the vehicle accidents that occur. And we know that Fayette County is #2 in the state in raw numbers. Successful models do exist. Forsyth County, Georgia, Fairfax, Virginia, and other communities near us are good examples. Safety can be ensured. So the next thing to think about is, do we want to proceed with a herd study as a first step? And then, if so, do we want to bring a full deer management plan with program for future meeting and consideration? And so those would be next steps. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try
Thank you.
to
If you can leave that last slide up there, please. So conclusions and next steps, second to the last bullet. Council consider proceeding with the proposed herd study at a cost of $25,000. So you need some direction.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, what do you want to do?
I think we definitely need the direction. And I used to live in Fairfax County, so I'm pretty familiar with their program. But I would tell you that the bottom line is that you have to have licensed people.
That's right.
And they have to know what they're doing.
That's right. Yeah, it has to be managed. That's right.
So I think we need to have a study,
All right. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree that we have to do the study. 102 deer carcasses were picked up in the fourth quarter of last year. 102. That's more than one a day.
Yep.
And every one of those carcasses represents potentially an accident where somebody damaged their vehicle that resulted in that deer dying along the side of the road that we picked up, or in somebody's yard. You know, that's something, you can't measure that kind of data. How much does it cost a citizen? Everything depends on the insurance, the car they drive, et cetera. But people are having a, you know, let's say an impact. Yeah, it is an impact. But there is a financial burden on citizens when the deer population gets too out of control. And I think, obviously, if we're #2 in the state, I think we need to change that. That's not one of the statistics we're striving for in this type of a thing. I was very glad when we opened up for archery hunting, last year at the tail end of the year. I think we're spot on, going in the right direction. I think we have to, in order to truly control the population numbers, we have to get into some of the city-owned properties, some of the parks, the larger, and these areas, I mean, we talk about, 289 acres. I mean, that's a huge amount of property that can legitimately, safely be hunted, but we need to know how many deer are in there and how many deer we can expect to take out of there. And I wrote a few other notes saying, at some point down the road, we need to figure out, the permitting, what the requirements are, all of that, those kinds of regulations, and what safety classes. And right after we looked at doing the, opening up for the archery hunting last year, we were getting a lot of emails from citizens volunteering to help us, to do safety courses, to train, hunters. It's, a whole wide range of things. I think we need to take advantage of that. But yeah, clearly, I think we're gonna have to go for this study and see how many deer we have and where they're living. We know where they're getting killed on the roads. That we have.
Yep.
Interlochen, right around the corner from Frank's house, is one of them. Robinson, which I drive all the time, is another. Peachtree Parkway has them, crossing. And anybody who'd like to take care of the 5 who live in my backyard that I do not feed, come along.
Yep. Yeah, and that, the vehicle, the data that we have on the crashes does not tell. A lot of these go unreported.
Right.
Somebody hits the deer, it does the damage, they just keep on going.
Right.
And so that data, I don't say it's worthless, but it does not tell the whole story.
Right, and one of the deer that lives in my backyard is dragging around a bum leg right now, her right rear leg. She's been limping on it for months. That didn't happen running through the woods, probably. It happened with a car.
Right.
So,
Or a golf cart.
All right. Anybody else? Ms. Johnson?
Oh, there's a lot I could say here, but in the end, I would say I agree.
All right, Mr. Holland, did you see
I-
how she did that?
Yeah, I'm going to be shorter. I agree.
Okay.
All right then.
Thank
And
you.
I understand that as a result of that proposed herd study, as a result of the herd study, we would consider the next step.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks
then
very
we'd be
much.
able to put together a more robust and informed plan.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Item G, resolution to call for special election.
Okay, good morning, still morning, Mayor and Council. I am not Jasmine Julio, but I will present anyway. On November 21st, 2024, this council approved a resolution requesting that the Georgia General Assembly introduce legislation to allow Peachtree City to consider expanding the senior homestead tax exemption to $30,000 of the assessed value of the homestead for residents of Peachtree City who are 65 years of age or older and whose income, along with their spouses who also resides at the homestead, does not exceed $60,000 combined for the preceding year. House Bill 703 passed the House on March 10th and the Senate on March 21st. It is awaiting Governor Kemp's signature. The special referendum election will be held, providing the governor signs the bill, in conjunction with the Peachtree City municipal election on Tuesday, November 4th. There should be no extra costs associated with the special referendum election.
Thank you. Council, can I get a motion?
There's no.
I would like to make.
Not today.
No motion. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
never mind.
Discussion?
I'll be happy to make the motion next meeting.
That sounds good. We'll take you up on that. Any other comments?
Nope, let's proceed.
Just proceed.
I would like to say that I'm really glad to see this. Does anybody know, did the governor sign this in the last few days?
He has not yet.
He had not as of
I'm
when
sure
I
he's got a
checked.
pile of bills because the
When
final
I-
day is Friday,
Right,
tomorrow.
when I checked yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, he had not signed it as of yet.
What he
But
does
I-
have, I think he, even after the final day of legislator, I think he has 60 days? 30 days?
Till July 1st.
Yeah, he has,
He's got some amount of time and then it goes forward anyway, whether he signs or not.
A lot of times he does not sign bills. The governors don't sign every bill, but they become effective by operation of law on July 1st. So,
All right.
we can proceed with or without his signature at this point then?
I believe we can, yes.
Okay.
If he votes it, we rescind the call.
And just so everybody knows, I mean, I saw Josh Bonner at the Republican County Convention a few weeks ago, and I thanked him profusely for his efforts in getting this through the legislative session.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Item H, fiscal year 25 budget amendment, IT software consideration.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Council. Every year, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is the budget, and we adopt the budget at a department level. So ordinarily, when I'm bringing budget amendments, it's to increase the budget. This is just simply moving IT software that's been allocated out into the departments back into IT, so that when we get into that budget process, we have a clearer picture of our IT cost.
All right. Questions, comments? Fine by me.
Pretty good, Kelly.
I just want to comment too, that like one of the reasons, like we did this previously before my time, I think they did a few years before my time, but facilities maintenance used to be budgeted in every department's budget, and since we have a facilities maintenance department, common sense was, instead of having to allocate all that out, let's cost center, one place in facilities maintenance with that, even though we still have a few different buckets. But same thing with IT. Instead of our IT department having to go through the process of allocating all this out to the departments, let's just put it all in one cost center. So number one, it's easier and more efficient for them to keep up with. Secondly, it's easier for us to understand because we can just look at one number instead of having to add up all the departments.
I agree, that's a good point.
All right. Old agenda item A, 3625, WS-B, personnel policy revision. Dr. Tapp.
As I will say, for the next 3 items for old agenda and 2 new agendas, we are asking for potential action on these 3.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. Just to remind you, this item before you is a recommendation to update our personnel policy and to be clear and specific about our performance evaluation process, as well as our to update our merit policy for city employees. We are requesting that this policy update includes language that specifies that all full-time and part-time employees will receive a performance evaluation at least once per year. The evaluation period beginning on January 1st of every year and ending on December 31st. The annual evaluation due date will be determined by Human Resources Director, and that our merit policy requires eligibility for employees to have completed 12 months of continuous employment with the city, and that those annual evaluations be tied to the merit increases that will be approved by mayor and council each fiscal year through the adoption of the operating budget. And if you have any questions about the merit policy and performance management policy, I'm happy to take those.
Okay. Council, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the changes as outlined in the packet. Thank you.
Manual. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. New agenda item 42501, May's work session.
This is for you all to discuss, because I think we're going to have 2 of you not here during the scheduled May work session that first week in May. So this is just, I guess we don't necessarily need a motion with this one, but we need y'all to discuss what you want to do for the May work session.
I thought we covered that, and we were going to move May 1 to May 8. Ms. Brown-True?
That would work for me, and if that becomes a problem for anybody, I'll attempt to hobble in here on May the 1st.
I think May 1
So-
to May 8th is a great idea. Anybody else?
That works for me.
Okay.
Got
Fine.
no problem.
Mr. DiStadio?
No problem.
All right. Does that give you the direction you
Yep.
need?
So we
All
would
right.
have the work session the second Thursday and the voting, so we would do it back-to-back weeks.
That's correct.
Got it.
All right, thank you. New agenda item B, 42502, Kedron boiler system replacement.
Should have brought my swimsuit today with all the stuff with the pool. This one is, as Justin said, a little unusual for a workshop. We're asking for, to award a bid on this particular item we wanted to do it this meeting instead of in May to avoid some price increases that we know are coming. So that's why this is coming a little early. So as you know, the boiler system for the Kedron pools went to the graveyard in the sky last year. This wasn't due to any lack of maintenance or anything. It was actually an internal failure of the boiler system that nobody would have ever seen unless you pull the boiler out of the building and take the skin off of it and dissect it, basically. So it just failed, and really due to the proactive planning from our facilities manager, he actually kept the old boiler accessible and on standby, so we were able to use that as a backup when it failed to keep folks being able to use the pool. Didn't have the BTUs to keep the same temperatures, but it was close, and it helped us through the winter. So since then, we've been working with our facilities manager and a mechanical engineer to design a new system, basically a whole new boiler system, pump system, piping system, everything. They put a lot of thought into this system, based on their previous experience with the old one and stuff that they wanted to see. So this new system is going to be pretty robust. We're going to have to we'll be able to do lobster boils basically in the pools if we wanted to with this system. It's going to have 2 boilers, 6,000 BTUs each, basically. So we can have a primary one where they can do lead and lag. They can switch off together, so they will last longer. We'll have expansion tank, a buffer tank as well, variable frequency drive pumps. Very good system in my opinion. So we went out to bid. We received 4 bids. We got some good response on this. The lowest bid was disqualified because they didn't provide the proper forms for the bid. So we went to the next highest, J.M. Clayton Company. We really tried to pick this apart. We went with our mechanical engineer, reviewed it with them. We actually had an interview with the head of the company as well to go through everything, make sure everybody understood what we were expecting as far as putting the system in and then coordinating with the control system and all that stuff. So we went through all that, and we've determined that J.M. Clayton would be the one that we're going to recommend to council for approval. The total cost is $275,000, but if y'all remember, we did receive a donation of $150,000, so we were planning on putting that towards this cost, and then the remaining $125,000 we're recommending come from CIP contingency if council approves. So are there any questions on this?
All right, council, can I get a motion to start?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 4-25-02, the Kedron boiler system replacement.
In the amount?
I have 275,000, is that the correct number?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
275,000.
To J, what is it?
J.M. Clayton.
J.M. Clayton
That's
Company.
what I didn't have.
J.M. Clayton.
To J.M.
To
Clayton.
J.M. Clayton.
Can I get a
Yes.
second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or concerns?
I have 2 questions. One is humorous. Although you said that the water would be hot enough that you could boil shrimp, is that?
Lobster.
Lobster, okay. But we don't intend to boil the people in the
No,
pool?
no,
Okay.
no.
So
Our-
that's the first question.
No.
The second question is just a contracting issue, just to make sure, because if we've thrown out the lowest bidder at $254,000, it's $26,000 more to go with the bid that's been proposed. I just want to make sure, did we follow the option to reach out to them to get them to put it on the right form, or is that not something time frame wise that we did or would do, or?
We talk with them. I would want to talk with you. I would want to, I don't know.
We
I
have
don't
a
know how to
Didn't
phrase this.
comply.
We
Yes,
have
they
a
didn't
process.
comply.
Didn't
So
comply.
you reached out, nothing came back?
Yeah, they didn't comply.
Yeah, they did
Okay.
not comply, and
Okay.
I can elaborate a little further.
I mean,
One-on-one.
it's not a tremendous difference in cost from the lowest bid to the one we're proposing. It's just, you know, hey, that's the 25,000 we need to do the deer study, you know? That's how I look at it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
He didn't look.
Motion carries, thank you. Council staff topics. A, GMA's City of Civility Designation Resolution. Justin?
Yeah, so this is, from my understanding, you all did discuss this. It's been on 3 agendas in a row, I believe, at this point. It was on the agenda for April's work session. We had 2 members missing, so I just requested we delay it. I missed the last meeting, but I understand you all discussed it. Mr. Justadio was missing as well. So I believe you pushed it to this meeting as well because you wanted the full council here to discuss this. But the gist of it is I mean, you've got the kind of paperwork in the packet with the statement, all that stuff. The previous council did approve this resolution 2 years ago, so we are currently designated as a city of civility. It does expire every 2 years, so GMA emailed us, and so the conversation we have with council is do you want to renew this designation, which means passing a resolution acknowledging, you know, the pledge and all that stuff. So it's really a council decision. So that's why we have it for y'all here to discuss.
So I'll go first. I would support this 100%. To me, a civility pledge, yes, it's just a piece of paper. I've heard that one. But so is a marriage license. And there are some people who think a piece of paper for marriage is important. And I think a piece of paper for a civility pledge is important. It is, to me, only my personal testament that I myself will strive to conduct myself with civility and courtesy. So I'm in favor. Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My gut response to this resolution was that I should not sign it. I prayed for God's help, and what came to me was the phrase, "Swear no oath but to the Lord." It's from the book of Matthew. Although it's part of the Sermon on the Mount, it comes after the Beatitudes and several other passages. It says, "Again you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'Do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made.' But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one." As Jesus gave instructions to his disciples to avoid swearing oaths altogether, he emphasized the importance of being truthful and letting yes mean yes and no mean no. When I was elected, the oath administered by Judge Christy Dunkelberger was the one outlined in Part 1 of our charter, Section 2.7, which says, and I quote, "I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute my duties of City Council of the City of Peachtree City, Georgia. I will uphold my responsibilities with integrity, dedication, and diligence to serve our citizens to the best of my ability. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Georgia, and the Charter of the City of Peachtree City," unquote. But it does go on to say, at the very end, "I duly affirm that I will act at all times in a manner befitting the trust and confidence placed in me by those I serve. I will take pride in all my endeavors and will treat my subordinates, peers, and constituents with respect. So help me God." On January 4th, 2024, I swore that oath as mandated in the charter. The last phrase, "So help me God," solidified it as an oath to God, not the evil one. Much of the oath is dedicated by the state of Georgia for elected officials. It is similar to the oath that I swore when I entered federal law enforcement. As I look at the Cities of Civility resolution, I have no desire to take that pledge at this time. 2 weeks ago, I outlined several objections because attending almost every council meeting for over 4 years showed me civility is an intermittent occurrence. It comes and it goes, often on a whim. So let's look at what will happen to Peachtree City if we do not sign this. Absolutely nothing. We won't lose any funding. We won't be kicked out of anything. There is no penalty at all. Most citizens won't even notice. Will they care? It seems our citizens judge us on what we do, not what we say. In the last 2 weeks, no one wrote to me to say that I should sign the resolution. It is an oath that comes from the evil one. At least I think so. There are 537 municipalities in Georgia. According to the GMA website, only 135 cities have signed the Cities of Civility resolution in the last 2 years. That means 402 Georgia municipalities didn't sign it. Tyrone hasn't signed it and has no plans to. Noonan hasn't signed it. Augusta hasn't signed it, and 400 others haven't signed. Guess what? They are all still fully functioning municipalities, and no one is tracking whether the resolution made any of them more civil. 2 years ago, prior to my election, I sat in this chamber as council members debated signing this resolution. Arguments were made on both sides, but it was signed. Just a few months later, 2 members who signed left at the end of their term. Laura and I got sworn in January of 2024, but we were not part of the discussion or the process that put the civility resolution in place. So I say that this resolution is completely out of sync with the start and end of each 2-year council cycle. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to table this issue until January 2026? We have 3 council positions on the ballot this November. Mayor Lerner, Councilman Holland, and Councilman DeStadio. We could have 1, 2, or 3 new members on this dais as of January 2026. Delaying this until January is advisable. That way, in a 2-year cycle, the ones who vote on it will be the ones in office for the duration of it. I therefore make a motion to table this agenda item until January 2026.
Well, are we taking motions on council staff?
Do we need to take this a motion? from
First of
this
all,
one?
I'd like to hear from other council members.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Ms. Johnson, would you like to go next?
Is it possible to do this and then also renew it in January? I think there's a good point raised, if there's a cycle to this, do we have to follow that cycle, or can we do it now and then also renew it? Because I think that does kind of make sense as far as when 3 new people come on.
I would have to ask GMA. I mean, we may, if the expiration's at a certain date, we may lose the designation for a few months. But
So what?
But re-getting it is the same as anyway. If we lose the designation, there's nothing extra you have to do to get it back. It's the same. You just pass the same resolution.
And in the process of this, my thought was this is a resolution. Is it an oath? Or
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution. Okay, well, a resolution is something that I would say our city has supported several resolutions without the need, like there's not an oath associated with this. And if this resolution means nothing because it's a piece of paper, would that apply to other resolutions that I think we have signed in support of? Are we saying that those mean nothing? I would say no. I would say those mean something to me. And so here we have another resolution. And for me, I believe in that I think it's a good resolution. I think it promotes unity, it promotes civility. I don't see anything that it's saying that it wants us to do that's bad, So I'm like, that just doesn't make sense to me to be against this personally, is where I stand. So I would be fine adopting it now. I think adopting it now and renewing it later, whatever that process looks like, I'm fine with. But I wholeheartedly support this.
Mr. DeStadio?
Madam Mayor, I actually support this as well, although I couldn't confirm that the 2 individuals that left the council were necessarily civil to me when I came on, and they had signed it. So I would like to see us sign it and then consider re-signing it when the council is fully manned and we have a commitment from those council members.
Okay,
So I would support that.
Mr. Holland?
I have also been the recipient of uncivil behavior in the past on council. But I know I've been civil myself, or at least I believe I've been civil myself in the last 3 years. But this contract that we signed in 2023 goes through the end of 2025. So as far as I'm concerned, I'll still be civil all the way through to the end of 25 and maybe renew in 26. But to renew it now and then to renew it again seems a little redundant. I think that it's binding on the councils that signed it, which we already did in 23, so we're good through 25. So I support that we just wait until 26 when we have potentially 3 new members here if the 3 of us don't get reelected. Signing it now seems a little redundant. Now, secondly, I've reached out to GMA, where most of this comes from, and the response to them is, hang on, we'll get you an answer whether or not you really need to do it now or at the beginning of 26. So I don't have an answer right now from GMA as to what the correct protocol is for signing this civility agreement. So at this point, I am kicking it down the road until 26.
All right, the motion on the table is...
May I say something?
Yes.
I'm looking at this letter, and it was in your packet that Jasmine received, and it was received on February 17th, and it said that the designation does not run through 25. It will expire in 90 days. So that would make it
New piece of
May.
information.
May 17th.
Interesting. So our designation as a city of civility will run out in May if we choose not to renew.
According to this letter,
Okay.
which I believe is in your packet, yes, that is what it says.
Which would put us in the group of 400 other cities in the state of Georgia who do not have a cities of civility resolution on file.
That's true. I
So
have a motion on
it's
the
a
table.
much smaller percentage that sign it than that don't.
I have a motion on the table to postpone the decision on signing the resolution until January. And I have a second on that. So I'm going to take all in favor of that postponement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No.
No.
Motion carries, and we'll take it up in January.
Good move.
Council staff topics, B, fiscal year 26, city council budget priorities. Justin?
Woohoo. Hope y'all are buckled in. We'll be here till 5 o'clock.
We'll be here
I'm just kidding.
20 minutes.
I'm
We
just
got
kidding.
this.
So I don't want to have too much pressure on y'all as well. So like if we need to have further discussions, y'all let me know. I want to get my computer's about to die because we've been here for 3 hours. So I want to get a couple of things, a couple of points just informationally to you all and then let the discussion happen. First off, with our budget this year with 2025, kind of where we stand operationally. We are 2/4 of the way through our fiscal year, so halfway through. We're about 46%, right at 46% of the budget spent in expenditures. So we're, if you're measuring it halfway, 50%, 46. We're kind of right on, a little bit under where we're tracking. Another one is, right now, some of our projected revenues from the budget are coming in a little higher than we projected, which is, better to come in higher than lower when you budget. So this is sales, the property tax seems to be right on, but sales tax is coming in a little bit higher. Franchise fees, we had that come in a good bit higher from Georgia Power this year and from Fayette EMC, Fayette Coweta EMC. So we're seeing some of our other revenue lines come in a little bit higher. We're also seeing fuel prices come down. So what we budgeted in fuel prices this year are lower. The prices at the pumps are what we get because we get it wholesale and we have our own pumps. But we're seeing that come in lower than what we budgeted. So this is stuff we're kind of keeping in mind as we go into the 26 budgeting sessions. Okay, some of this stuff's coming in a little higher revenues. Our fuel prices are coming in a little lower. Fuel prices was something we looked at heavily last year. We actually cut a good bit of fuel prices out of some of the departments last year because PD, for example, I'll use Chief over here, their fuel budget was way higher than they ever used over 5 to 10 years. Like we went back and looked at it and we were like, well, let's slash that. So, that's something we looked at and got a hold of last year. Another point I want to make going into the 26 discussions is HB 581. I know we've talked about it multiple times, and opting in, opting out. We opted in, which meant we did nothing. For HB 581, as it starts to kick in this year and really starts to kick in next year, all homesteads in Fayette County won't happen for the schools because they opted out. But for the municipalities in the county, who I believe we all opted in, all homesteads in the county will be frozen as far as assessments. So they will still go out and do assessments. The assessments of your houses, of your properties will change, but no matter what no matter what is decided with the millage rate, your tax for this year will not increase. Like it is frozen this year. And next year is when HB 581 actually kicks in with the inflationary capping. So this year.
That's for 26, it will be frozen?
For 25 for
For
this year.
25.
For our fiscal year 26.
Yeah, our
For
fiscal
25
26.
tax year.
Okay, thank you.
So no matter what happens with the millage rate, our actual citizens who have homesteads here will not see a property tax increase for city taxes.
Right.
They will still for the school, unless the school rolls back.
So
I believe there are exceptions to that, though, with regard to if you do major renovations to your
Yes,
house, or if you
correct.
sell your house and it changes ownership, that does get reassessed.
Correct.
And if you've had your homestead exemption in place for several years, once HB 581 clocks forward, if you are restricted for 3 or 4 years and then you do a major renovation or sell your house, everything resets to that date.
Correct. That is correct.
Just in case somebody gets an assessment and thinks, how did this happen?
supposed to be
I'm
frozen.
homesteaded.
It's supposed to be frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, your value will be assessed at the normal value, but it'll just show on your tax bill as an exemption.
Yes.
Right.
So that's what I go back
The
to.
value of your homes can still increase.
Yes, they will still do assessments the way they've always done them. Your value of your house will be reflected in that report, but they will have, like Kelly said, they will have an actual exemption difference that will equal last year's tax bill.
Right.
And again, just to be clear, this is for FY 26.
Correct.
Okay. Which gives us time during the next calendar year to be able to make any appropriate changes that we need to mitigate some of the circumstances of 581. Does that sound like a plan? I'm not saying we're
Well-
going to do anything, but we at least got a little bit of time, should we decide to do something.
Talking about 581, I mean, really, this year is almost pretty much the harshest year as far as revenue collection because it's completely frozen. Like, it will equal last year's. Years moving forward, depending on what we do with the millage, if you roll back every year, then it would pretty much be frozen as well. If you do a slight rollback or you don't roll back, then you would see growth, but it would be capped. Like we've talked about before, it would be capped at inflation, not necessarily the assessment percentage.
Correct.
So yes, as we go through with budgets every year, we're gonna analyze what that inflation rate is and what we expect in actual revenues.
But it may give us the opportunity to look at homestead exemptions to help balance the budget from revenue to expenses by taking a look at homestead exemptions if there's excess to be given back to the taxpayers.
If that's something council wants to
Yeah,
discuss.
and if
yes.
if it does turn out to be financially that way, we don't know yet. We don't know what the 26 is going to show.
Yes.
I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head here.
So, I just wanted to plant, and I think I've emailed you all the whole freeze situation, but I wanted to say it up here on the dais and have it in your heads as we go into this. Another couple of things, this is just goals that Kelly and I have talked about and that we've already kind of talked about with staff. We don't plan on asking for positions this year. Beyond, we know that we know we're going to ask for 3 new firefighters because that's been discussed, that's been worked through over the next 3. Well, including this year, next year, and the year after. We're gearing up to get 9 firefighters on for Station 85, which is the new Southside Station. Beyond that, we have increased our headcount the past 2 years in a row. Staff is grateful for that because we thought that it was very needed. We thought that to get up to the actual level of service we needed to, that our council and our citizens expect, it was needed. And now that we're there and we appreciate it, we want to hold the line. Like this year and possibly the next couple of years, we want to see and hold the line and see how we operate with the staffing levels that we have. We also, I want to mention that CPI is currently at 2.8%. That's currently where we are as of, I think,
Justin, explain that so that people know what CPI means.
Consumer Price Index, which is the inflation rate that is measured by the federal government, is currently at 2.8%. Our policy and our personnel policy, as far as COLAs go, it says that we will try to match CPI the best we can if feasible, if funds are available and if feasible. So that's where we are as far as the number goes. I'm not telling you that 2.8 is what the number is going to be, but I'm just letting you know that's what CPI currently is. I already said that fuel prices are coming down, so we're going to reanalyze what we recommend for the fuel price per gallon to be to our departments this year coming up. And then we've also had some revenues come in a little higher than projected, so we're going to analyze that with the 26 projections as well. And then lastly, I want to mention, because this was a discussion during 25's process, and this is really what I want to hear from council, is what we're going to get into right now, is the priorities of stuff that was talked about at retreats, and as far as maybe some projects that did not have budgets associated with them. We talked about Kedron Pool earlier today. Like we kind of have some marching orders from you all on that. 2 other big ones that I want to talk about are the Battery Way restrooms, because I know that's important to a couple of you. The gun range renovation, we allocated $2.5 million when we bought the property for renovation. We think it's going to cost a little more than that, up to 1.5 to 2 million. 4.5 to 5 million is what we're thinking for an actual complete renovation of that property. We applied for the CDS, the Congressional Discretionary Spending Grant. We did not get it, unfortunately. And so we're probably maybe going to try again this year. Like, it opens up every year, so we're going to try again. But I also want to go ahead and have an idea of where are we going to pull the rest of that from. And so those 3 things I'm mentioning together, the Kedron Pool enclosure, which could include the relining of the pool itself, the gun range, and then the Battery Way restrooms. And then I know we've discussed some real estate matters that I can't get into either. I can say that we've discussed them. This all leads me to say that the only debt we have right now in the general fund is one facilities bond from 2021. It's a 10-year bond, so we're about halfway through paying it. So for me, with some of these bigger item projects and priorities, the answer for me, and a recommendation probably from me, is to consider some of these items in a facilities bond to get them done and do a 10-year bond. That way we're not paying it all up front. And I'm not against paying cash for things, but I am a little hesitant when we used about 4 to 5 million last year. I don't want to drain reserves too much too quickly. And a bond is a good way when we talk about generational equity to smooth over the payments over 10 years. And also that comes back to the residents that are actually using a possible new enclosure or getting services from PD over those 10 years, are paying it over the 10 years, kind of smoothing it for residents that live here during those 10 years instead of our residents this year paying it all up front.
For the future.
So that's one big consideration I want y'all to kind of give me a little feedback on. And those are really, coming out of the February retreat, most of the items discussed were actually non-capital items. We talked about, and the ones that were talked about are either SPOS projects or ARP, like they have some funding identified. So really, those are kind of the three. Really, the biggest one that came out of the retreat was the Battery Way restrooms, that doesn't have any actual funding identified. So, yeah, that's kind of, I got through my items here. So I just want to open it up to you all as far as goals. When I say hold the line with our staff, Kelly and I have talked with the county initially about new growth in the city as far as new tax revenue. We've talked with them about what the assessments would be and possible rollback. But we are in April right now, and Leanne specifically told me these numbers are not, like, don't rely on these numbers. And so I'm not going to sit up here and say in this meeting and commit to any numbers. But we are seriously, when I say hold the line, we're seriously going to look at when it actually comes down to it, what is a full rollback going to cost or going to take for us to do? We're going to seriously look at it. And what is something in the middle there? So rollback is a definite consideration this year that as staff, we're going to try to see where all that shakes out, but I don't have firm numbers that I can sit up here and spit out to you in this April meeting.
So are you looking for a consensus on whether we move forward with the Battery Way? What do you expect from us?
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
looking, so there were some comments last year of, well, so these were discussed in the retreat, but I did not know this was going to end up on the agenda or on the budget for the year. So there are certain things that, number one, I want to kind of get feelings on a facilities bond for some of these. We talked about a couple of these big projects today that we would work in. We could possibly make a facilities bond happen this year and do a budget amendment. So I want to hear a little feedback on that. I think it's the way to go. I think Kelly would say it's the way to go. And then also just, if we do Battery Way restrooms, do you want that rolled into a facilities bond? Because we could do that. But also, since it is a smaller, I say smaller, it'd be a couple, it'd be six figures. But in the scale of new pool enclosure and the gun range, it's a lot smaller project that we could do cash for. So do you want to roll that project into a potential facilities bond? Do you want to pay cash for that one and budget it in 26? Yeah, that's kind of discussions that especially some of these retreat things, I want to just, are we proceeding? Like, are you expecting to see these things in the budget? What are you thinking of a facilities bond?
So first things first, we did discuss in the retreat the Kedron pool structure or bubble. And I'm glad to see we're moving forward on that. We also talked about the hockey rink, and it was my understanding that you have a fix-in.
So, yeah, I think you had this as a question.
Yep,
on
I
your,
did.
Yeah, the hockey rink, we installed a humidity sensor that automatically activates the fans in the rink if the humidity gets to a certain level. And pretty much in Georgia during the day, they're pretty much going to be running all day with the level we put on there. And so since we've installed the sensor, you're still here, Harold? Yeah. Since we've installed the sensor, it's worked. It's worked. We have not had any complaints from them. I've actually talked to Jim Forstall.
Yep.
And God, I'm losing my voice. Harold, you've talked with just the association. It's working. And so our hope is that we don't have to spend all this money and actually enclose the facility. Like, if this is working. So right now, talking with Jim and with some other people, I think we all agree, let's be in a holding pattern right now and see how this solution works over the long term.
What was the cost of that fix? About 5,000,
I was
10,000?
going to say 13,000. Was it 14? 14,000.
14,000. Awesome.
A lot cheaper than enclosing.
Well, I've got a big issue with the, and really a technical issue with the fans moving in and out air, because the air quality doesn't change and humidity from being in or outside. It all depends upon the temperature and the dew point. And at this time of the year, you're going to have very few dew points that are going to condense any liquid out of the air. But you are going to get those coming up, and in the fall you'll get those where you'll get dew points which will be warm during the day. You can move air in and out. But as soon as the nightfall comes, you're gonna condense out that air and it will condense inside the building. Because it's the same air, whether you've moved it in or out. The humidity hasn't changed in the air, it's just been moved out. So you're seeing results now which are technically correct, but that will change when you've got some dew points that are gonna condense out the moisture, which is what's happened. I guess it was the last couple of months it happened.
Well,
So
and they could.
I think I think you're getting some false readings at this point from a technical standpoint.
But I think that's why we need more time. Like, so we need to see how it performs during those hot summer months where we get hot days and then,
And chilly nights,
yeah.
you're gonna get
I think we need to see.
condensation coming out.
I think that's why we say we're kind of in a holding pattern, because we want to see how they perform,
Okay.
how it performs throughout all the seasons, because we haven't yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're cognizant of the technology involved on this and what will happen when the temperatures go high during the day and down at night. You're going to see condensation happening. Hopefully I'm wrong,
Well, yeah, we'll see.
but I think the technology speaks for itself.
We'll see. I don't, like you said earlier, Councilwoman Brown, I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Okay.
I think we should see.
So do you also have, we've heard your recommendations on a facilities authority bond for Kedron pool structure, gun range, reno, and possibly a building purchase, but I would like to hear your recommendations on a COLA, what?
Was the gun range reno in that or not?
Yeah, that's what he was just talking
Not
about.
in the,
No.
well, the gun range is in an old retreat item. We didn't really talk about it in February, but it is an old retreat item from July of last year.
I'm gonna move on.
Go ahead.
My question is, when Bob Curnow came in new, we revisited a very comprehensive pay and benefits study. And we had to make a big bump in order to bring everybody up to what we considered, par Peachtree City standards, benchmarked against 14 other communities. And we kind of agreed then, that we wouldn't let it come to that again, that we would keep up with what it takes to hire, recruit and retain our employees. So I'd like to understand if you have a recommendation for COLA this year.
I mean, of course I want to keep up with competition. I want to keep up. I want our staff to feel like they have the same purchasing power as they had. I mean, that's the whole idea with inflation and COLAs. So I would love for us to be as close to what the inflation rate is as possible.
You're looking at that 2.8?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was a commitment that we made way back when we had to really bump up and get competitive, especially in our police department, and I know that's made a big difference in our public safety.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Other priorities?
I think, Madam Mayor, that we had, there were 6 priorities that came out, and I don't remember which page it was on during the retreat, but it was signaled out as 6 different priorities, and I quickly wrote down 4 of those priorities, and I don't remember what the
Recreation.
last.
You're talking about the recreational ones. There were 7. from the
Okay, well, I
master
only
plan.
had 6
That's
right
okay.
now.
What do you
It
have,
doesn't
Mr.
matter.
I'll read
The ones that I had are priorities, and I think I've mentioned them to pretty much everybody on this council, is, of course, the hockey rink was number 1.
Yes.
Number 2 was the splash pad. That was a priority, although it's already funded, but splash pad was a priority.
Yes.
Number 3 was the bathrooms at Drake Field.
Yes.
And number 4 was the bathrooms at Battery Way. I don't remember number 5 and 6 right off the top of my head.
It was pickleball and Kelly Drive
Yes.
Park.
Well,
There you go. Thank
pickleball.
you, Madam Mayor.
Pickleball was way up there,
Yep.
of course.
Those are the 6 that popped
So
out
we're-
when I reread all of them, the minutes of the retreat.
So I can tell you all pickleball is being worked
Fantastic.
on. Like, we're in design with pickleball. We're in design, we're in initial kind of feeling out stages since Drake came out in the retreat. We have started to get on that. These are projects, though, the reason they're not being discussed here is because they're splossed.
Right.
So they have funds.
I think it's a matter of the citizens are waiting for the shoe to drop on
Sure.
those, really is what it is.
The only other one, the mayor mentioned Kelly Drive Park, which is also a SPOS project.
Right.
I will say that one, even though it came out because it does have funding, like we pretty much identified all the ones that had funding from the rec plan.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you all tell me otherwise, the priorities are probably gonna be closer to pickleball, Drake-filled restrooms, you know, some of the higher demanded ones. Kelly Drive may be one of the last ones of these to go.
I can see that.
The last one that we discussed that doesn't have funding, and I guess it probably would be good to talk about, is Braylon, is a cricket pitch. That did make the list of 7.
I think we kept
But
it
I
on
think
the-
it was. I think what y'all did say is we need to look at partnerships with that. And
Yes.
I think we kept that on the list because we had an indication there might be.
there might be partnerships.
Yes,
Yes.
so if that is moving forward as well with design, we can get some kind of a WAG and then put it in front of some community partners.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you got any issue, do you have some timelines on any of these major projects? I mean, there's lots of other projects we had in the rec plan and also in the city, but these were the ones that popped out at the retreat. Do you have timelines on those yet for us?
So splash
And I don't want to
pad.
put you on the spot if you don't,
Okay.
but just if you do have some.
Staff's been working hard on the splash pad and getting it out to bid. I think we're really close to putting it out to bid. Well, Harold.
We've got the concept on it. We have submitted to them that we want the design back. We're supposed to have it
We're going to be doing the civil on it. Okay.
4 weeks on that.
Okay. So that should go out to bid
Okay.
early summer. Pickleball. I've told you all this on the in individual conversations. We're looking at 2 sites for pickleball. I know the master plan recommended the current compost site, but we also initially, when this was being planned out in Splost, we were looking at that site in front of the tennis center. Because we think cost-wise there may be a significant difference between the 2 sites. And so we are working with Pond to give us a good design and a good cost estimate on that design. Like Dave said, it wouldn't be a final because it hasn't been bid out, but it just, what is a really good ballpark of both of these designs. And we want to bring, once those are done, we want to bring those forward to council and give you the 2 options and basically ask you, based on what the potential cost is of each one, the look of them, location, all that stuff, which version do you want to bid out? Which
Cool.
site do you want to bid out? So that'll be coming soon.
That only is just the actual engineering and designs and those things,
Yes.
not necessarily when
Construction.
is it going to happen? Because that's what
That's
the
what I'm
citizen,
saying.
the citizen wants to
We
know.
will- I know.
When is it going to happen?
We
Not
will-
not
we
when are
want-
you going to get a bid?
We want to bring the 2 designs to you all to make a decision about which one we put out to bid. Once we put it out to bid, obviously we have to publicly bid it for a month, for 30 days. We come back to you all for award if we have good bids submitted. And then depending on the site you pick, the timeline may be different. The timeline for the compost site would be longer than the other site.
Which sites are we discussing?
The current compost site
Yeah.
on Rockaway, and then the big field location in front of the tennis center.
Tennis center. Thank you.
So those are splost. Those are splost items. The topic of conversation actually is fiscal year 26 city council budget priorities. What I've heard from Justin would be my budget priority. Your recommendations at this point would be my budget priority. I'm hoping
Yeah.
we have enough leeway to look at a COLA for our employees. I definitely support you in funding 3 firefighters for the new Southside Fire Station. And I think it makes perfect sense that we look at a facilities authority bond for the Kedron structure that we talked about today, renovating that emergency operations center, potentially a building purchase that we would talk about in private, and maybe even Battery Way restrooms.
And the Ketron enclosure.
I said that first.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Don't forget Drake.
That's
Well,
lost.
Drake is
That's
Drake is
Splost. I'm
Splost.
sorry, I keep forgetting
That's the
that.
differentiation
Yep,
I'm
yep, yep,
trying
yep,
to make.
I got you, I just
So as far as our
immediately went for that.
budget, I'm
Yep.
with you on those SPLOST priorities, but as far as
Yep.
budget priorities, what we want Justin to bring us a budget that looks like what he just recommended. The COLA, a reasonable COLA fund 3 firefighters, and then we'll look at a facilities authority bond for this laundry list of 4 projects.
And I agree with the facilities bond, if it makes sense. Let's just make sure we don't let the hockey rink fall off the edge of the table.
Right.
I agree
Because,
with
just
that.
because there's some technical issues going on and science issues going on, let's make sure we keep our eye on the ball on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will.
I will, for sure.
Anything else, Mr. DeStadio?
No, I agree with everything you said. I like the idea of having a facilities bond for the items that we can't get funded and the ones that aren't currently in SPOST. So I agree with that.
Yeah, okay. Ms.
good.
Brown?
And to echo, so that we don't have the problems we had with the current budget, so you're gonna get more accurate numbers and come back before we say yay or nay, it goes in the budget.
As far as
Cost.
Cost estimates
of projects.
of what's on this, like, this budget priorities I just wrote down. COLA, 3 firefighters,
Oh.
facilities bond, Battery Way, Kedron enclosure. I may have missed one or
Yes.
two. I was not writing fast enough.
Well-
My hands are so cold because it's freezing in here.
I think it's
Maybe
wonderful.
we can save some
Wonderful
money on the,
temperature, keeps
on
us
the
awake.
Cold?
air
I'm actually
conditioning.
kind of warm.
Yep.
I'm warm.
No one has gone to sleep in here.
But yes,
That's
the
for
answer
sure.
to your question is,
Well-
yeah, that's,
So I think I emailed you all this last night. We're planning on submitting.
Like I read that.
Yeah, we're planning on submitting the proposed budget to you all 2 weeks further in advance than we did last year. So you
Good.
actually have longer. We actually will still have a work session the next week after we give it to you. But you still have longer. We've left an open spot for you to have a second one to talk about it again, which would be 3 weeks after you got it.
Yep.
And really, from the time you get it to adopt it, it would be almost 2 months. And so when you talk about COLA, fuel prices, stuff like that, I can't really just say what they are until I actually do a proposed budget.
Okay.
So the answer to the question is you'll see the numbers, but they'll probably be in the proposed budget for discussion, and if we need to tweak things, we can. You'll have time.
and that's, I'm looking at this list timeline that you gave us. That would be June 5th that we would expect to see.
June 5th, you would get the budget on May 30th,
May 30th?
the proposed.
That's not on here.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we said. May 30th.
She
May-
just inhaled sharply.
Mhm.
Do
We
need
already
to
talked
clarify
about
that?
it.
I actually groaned.
I know.
Yeah.
We already talked about it. May 30th, first work session on June 5th, and then a potential for a second work session if needed on either June 17th or 19th, which I think we emailed you about your availability.
So basically, Justin, that gives us, from a management standpoint of the budget, the months of June and July,
Yes.
and then the
Potential.
end of July is the adoption.
Potential adoption is July
at the end of Ju-
31st.
So it gives us 60 days to look this over, kick it around, have your discussions, and then hopefully,
And
you know-
call, if you need to call meetings, you can call meetings.
Yep, okay.
A
Thank you.
couple things going at the same time here now. If we have the Tuesday, June 17th, City Council workshop to review the manager proposed budget, then what is it on the 19th? Just our regular
That was
city
just,
council
we were holding
meeting?
19th. If you feel like you don't want to call a special call meeting to just talk about this,
Okay,
I'm trying to eliminate, because what we've done in previous years is we've called all these special meetings,
yeah.
and then you're coming here like 4 or 5 times in a month. I'm trying to potentially eliminate that if y'all are comfortable talking about this during regular meetings.
And we don't know what the millage, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
millage
okay.
hearings will be, so.
Back to you, Ms. Brown. I think we were going down the line. Did you have anything more you want to see?
No, my personal preference is that we definitely look at the Battery Way bathrooms, because when I leave my house to come up by the library or city hall, there are very few places to stop in between, and I can either like go to Kroger, or the shopping center there, or, I've got to make it all the way to city hall or the library, or I'm
I was
kind
gonna
of,
say, currently, the only restrooms on Lake Peachtree, or like adjacent to it, is us, is City Hall or
Yeah.
All Children, Picnic Park.
Yep, on the other side of the
But if
lake.
all goes
But
well,
we're right together.
Yeah.
Like
you know,
we're-
if all goes well, what we're looking at is bathrooms at Drakefield, bathrooms at Battery Way, bathrooms at Kelly Drive Park.
that implies that we use the bathrooms a lot.
I think we do. Yeah. Anything else, Laura?
Well, I think, and the Drake Field one really comes along because of the events we have there.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
No, I think that's
Ms. Johnson?
good.
Yeah, I'm in support of this. I think, like, for me, it's what I mentioned at the retreat is just, I think the effects of how House Bill 581 are going to be exponential over
Yes.
the years, and I just want to make sure that we are making the correct decisions now so that we are setting our city and future councils up for success in how to manage that in the future.
And
to be
you
cognizant
know,
of that.
you and I have had some discussions, and I agree with that
Right.
personally, and I think our staff does as well. We don't want to leave a mess I don't want to leave a mess even if I'm here 5 years or 20 years, I don't want to leave a mess for whoever comes after me.
All
And
right.
neither do we.
Right.
All right. Do we have executive session?
Wait,
Oh,
we're not done with, we were talking budget issues.
Yeah.
There's other council staff topics, or we're not there yet?
We're not
Where-
at council
where are we?
staff topics yet.
We're still, yeah, we're
Oh, we
still
are?
on council.
Yeah, we're in council staff
Oh.
topics.
sorry about that. Any other council staff topics?
Yes, actually, I have.
Imagine.
I have some.
Imagine
Okay.
that.
Anybody else want to go before me or not?
I would like to rattle them off, if you don't mind, Suzanne.
Can I start with one thing?
Okay.
Can I do staff first? Is that okay?
Wow.
I know we're all asking to take it.
Mine
You
is,
know what?
mine
ahead.
is 30
It's exciting to have
seconds.
that
Let's-
much
We'll let the mayor
discussion.
decide.
listen.
The mayor's in charge.
I have to leave here at 1. My father-in-law passed away yesterday,
And we are so sorry.
Oh,
So
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Laura.
and I have a flight to catch.
We will be done at 1.
Yep,
So I-
And
we'll
we
be
will
done.
get you safely on your way. And
Yep.
I'm so,
Okay.
so sorry.
Just to clear up something, I was gonna do an executive session, but it can wait 2 weeks.
Good.
We
Okay.
will do that, thank
That's
you.
good.
All right, any council staff topics? Ms. Brown?
Yes, I'll try to be fast. Kenneth Hamner sent us a letter this week with regard to adopting native species ordinance for plantings, et cetera. All of the council members got the same email, hopefully you all read it. What he's outlined is kind of a very brief proposal, so I'd like to ask for a consensus of, should we have him come in, or have Kenneth come in, or Kenneth and Scott Rittenhour, or somebody come in, do a presentation of what they'd like to do, to kind of like put their toe in the water and see what's kicking, because this is something that's come up in various ways at various times over the last, 15 or 18 months and before, and it just keeps getting not put in place, and I think we need it. Echoing that, as the path was built along Robinson, we see an overabundance of bamboo. That's a big issue. That
That's the
is a
invasive
horrible thing
species.
to get rid of. I mean, it's really bad. We need to, address some of these issues, maybe get with the nurseries in town, make sure they're not selling these things, like really just kind of, stop them. I have a terrible allergy to wisteria. It looks really pretty with the big puffy purple flowers, but it's killing me this year. And as well as the, the yellow pollen that we're all washing our cars 3 times a week for. But, I mean, do we have an appetite at this point to have Kenneth come in and
Yeah.
let's do this?
We're actually
I would
already on
support
this.
Okay,
Staff's
Good.
already doing this.
Good.
okay.
Staff is doing the invasive species part because that was talked about at the retreat.
Right.
As far as requiring native planting,
Justin sent me an email about this morning, and I've
Yep.
already pulled up an ordinance or two while we've been here today to forward to staff for us to start looking at the native
Excellent.
So we can actually
Excellent.
incorporate the two.
Yeah.
Banning of invasive species and encouraging native species, or
species.
mandating
We
native
can
species.
encourage, I don't know that we can mandate.
But we can mandate that our own facilities people put only native species
For-
in.
Yeah, our
That
For
we can
city
do
property and
among
city
ourselves.
facilities, yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
we can
Okay.
absolutely do that.
So we're gonna-
So whether somebody comes in or not, that's fine, but staff is already working on this issue.
yeah. So
Okay.
my question would be, would y'all be comfortable with us just talking with Kenneth and Scott?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
I just didn't want it to get delayed longer,
And
since
present this
obviously.
in tandem with the invasive, talk
Right.
about both at the same time.
Invasive and
Okay.
approved native species.
I have 2 other questions. One, do we have any kind of an update on the Red Wine Tunnel? I should have asked you about this in the several phone calls we've had this week.
No, yeah, you're good. I talked to Phil Mallon. He was actually the conference I went to last week. He was there, and we some Fayette County folks were there, and we talked. And they were delayed a little bit with some stormwater things, So I actually asked him, I said, well, now is it gonna be close enough that y'all just drop the tunnel when school's actually out? He doesn't know. It's gonna be close. He doesn't want to delay dropping the tunnel just because they're close to school being out. But it's getting closer. I think within the next month or two, they're gonna be ready to drop it.
And just so that citizens know, another thing that we're working on that doesn't get talked about very much, would you just outline, because you and I talked about it within the last few days, just outline where we are and what we're doing with regard to the Glen Lock splash pad?
Oh, yeah.
And what our timeframes are for that.
Okay. This was talked about at the retreat as far as making Glen Lock splash pad free instead of charging it with the pool admission. So that was decided by council to move forward with that. We've scheduled the people to come move the gate in the next week. So the gate will be moved next week. We'll do the concrete work after that. We also are going to put the lock on the new gate that that is the same as our locks we've done on our bathrooms, which have worked really well, where they're programmed. Because some of our bathrooms, this is a different subject, but some of our bathrooms in the past, we had to keep locked because they get vandalized at night and people would forget to lock them. We have locks now on all our park bathrooms that are programmable. They open and close by themselves depending on the time of day. So we're able to put a handle like that on that gate, so it'll be free to the public, and it'll lock it a certain time at night, and it'll open at a certain time in the morning.
Good.
And so that should be, by the time it starts getting hot, we're going to potentially get this thing open. I don't have an exact date yet, but I've told Harold we want to, if we can open it before the pool, let's open it, because it doesn't, we're going to make it free to people and not have an attendant. So that is coming. Glen Lock splash pad will be free this summer season for everyone.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's what I wanted. I wanted it to go on record so that the public would know where we're going with that.
What's the
I-
Laura Dewar thing?
No, this is
Laura.
not the same splash pad. Oh, do you have?
Laura, I promise you, I'll only take 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have 3 items. I had 6, but Suzanne got 3 of them already picked. I'm concerned about, we talked about this the last time about the library hours. I would like to see it go to 8 to 8 on Monday through Friday. Weekend stays where it is, but we need to bring it, obviously we got staffing problems that need to be, you need to schedule this stuff so that there's no new people added, no new full-time people added to the library staff to be able to handle that. And I'll leave that in your hands,
Well,
I
City
think
Manager.
we asked for information.
You did?
Some of it was about users, number of users, how many people would come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, there are reasons why we settled upon 9 to 6 and 9 to 8 on the
Yeah,
weekdays.
I think it was because of COVID, if I remember correctly. That was the reason why we moved the
I
times.
think we asked for those numbers.
well, so
Okay.
so Jill is working on, you asked for her to monitor. It was actually the day the directors were there. So you asked for her to monitor kind of those Tuesdays and Thursdays that we are open till 8.
Yep.
She's monitoring how many people are actually in there, and she's gonna, get that data and give it to me to give to you all.
Okay.
To make a decision, to consider this. Off the top of my head, you talked to me about this last night, and I did the math like just really fast in my head. If we went to an 8 to 8 Monday through Friday, I think it would cost an extra $50,000 a year to do that. Off the top of my head, in labor hours.
That's just labor hours, not
Just-
new employees. I mean, new full-time employees.
Right, because we also talked about, we could still add headcount because full-time employees don't have benefits. They're just paid for
Correct.
straight hours.
Yeah.
So if we needed to add 2 part-time employees, it doesn't change the fact that we're having to pay those hours. It's just a matter of covering it with part-time and not full-time.
Okay, the other one is, have we got any update on the boundary study that
Yes.
was planned?
That's
Give us
gonna
30
go out.
seconds on it.
It's gonna go out to bid in the next week or 2. So
Okay.
it'll go out to bid this month.
Great. Last but not least, we've still been
Or-
talking
all right.
about the Crosstown Peachtree Parkway roundabout. And I know we've brought it back, and I think we're at 100% now, or coming up with 100% on that.
Still working on 100%.
We're still working on 100%?
Yes. We asked them to go back and look at the latest GDOT design standards, and we've got
Oh, jeez, okay. All right, well, at least it's an update. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Yes,
I have like two things, and I'm sorry.
not at all.
First one is the Station 85 project manager. So we talked about we want to get Station 85 moving to build on the south side. We talked about hiring a project manager for this. You all said, yeah, it's a good idea. We have gotten some other we've asked about 5 or 6 firms for quotes. We've only gotten one other one. I think because the project is on a smaller scale of what a lot of these companies do. But we do have a comparable to the one quote that we had before, and we've gotten references and all that stuff. I meant to put it on this agenda and I didn't, but I would like to actually put that item on the next agenda for consideration. But I wanted
That's
to
fine.
talk about it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Fine, let's do it.
Next one is the paving bid. Our annual paving bid is going to be issued. We're going to put that bid out for bid this month as well. And that's it.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Only after we thank all the people for sitting for 3.5 hours. Thank you very much.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Including the 4